show me another F1 driver at the moment that's got a Mark Webber doing what Mark Webber's doing. And Liam's got nobody. I've won Bathursts, and you now know what that feels like.
Me? No, I don't.
Oh, no, you don't.
He's second.
Who won last year?
He's second even times than
Oh,
third.
yeah.
He was third last year.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, I haven't won it yet, mate.
You don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
Yeah.
Mate. Never will.
Shit. We got sent letters when Marcus and I
By
had...
pigeon.
Yeah, when Marcus and I had... Or an email, so an email came through or whatever, or fax probably in 2005. I'm going to fucking find you and kill you. That's how it was done.
Oh no! He's in the fence! The man's in the fence! All in the fence! Oh, unbelievable!
Sound check.
Ooh.
You didn't even say it. Sound check. You meant to say it, mate.
Oh, shit, sound check. Too late.
There we go.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, boys. Thanks for, mate, this has felt like we've been trying to organise this for a little while, Murph, to get you on the pod, and the main thing was doing it in person. Well, of course.
I suppose at the end of the day when you started offering money, then it made it easier.
Now, everyone knows that's
I didn't tell Elliot that he has to pay you for this one.
You guys getting paid for this?
Yeah. No, it's awesome to have you here, mate. We're up to episode, I think we're on 46 now.
Holy.
So we've done quite a few of these in a short period, 8 months. Oh, it's probably 10 months now we've been going, I reckon. But you were one of our first we wanted to get on, but it was always do it in person. We don't like doing the Zoom calls. It's always a lot harder.
Yeah.
But yeah, stoked to have you on. Obviously, one of the greatest of all time in supercars,
That
mate.
is not true.
We're not even
Come on, it's not true.
You know you are. We're not
No,
even going
I
to have
don't.
to do an intro for you.
The numbers
to say what
don't. The
you've
numbers
done.
don't stack up.
So no one fact checks these days, mate. It's fine.
Yeah, Elliot lies about his numbers all the time. The listeners think he's good.
You want to see my CV?
But no, it is awesome to have you on, mate. And we just, all of our partners and Patreon members as well. It's a massive thank you to them that we're able to get. Barb's flew in this morning.
Yeah.
I'm here. Obviously, I raced.
We told everyone we're in New Zealand. Do they know where we are?
They actually know.
We're across the pond.
That's a good point.
We did cross the ditch.
Yeah.
So that's why, it's big shout out to our partners and, of course, Patreon. But, yeah, East Coast Car Rentals. If you are going to Tassie, even for the next supercar round, you're looking for a discount car
I think it's a
rental.
New Zealand company, isn't it?
Kiwi owner, like the
Kiwi owner.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
We're asking the hard questions.
Rowan
Yeah,
Marks.
mate.
Yeah.
Rowan Marks,
You're
he's
right.
a Kiwi.
Yeah. He hasn't rung. I've rang him a few times. But
He hasn't called you back?
hasn't called me back.
Well, there you go.
Well, he listens to every episode, I'm sure. So, but yeah, AH215, if you want that special discount there, of course, Trico products, only buy the best. Our high car had terrible wipers on the way here. I actually needed an upgrade on those
We
bad
might as well
boys.
say Tricos on that before we go.
Lancaster Motor Group, if you're in the market for a new car, you don't want to lease one, hit those guys up. Shore & Partners, new partner of our pod as well.
They are.
Yep, that was it just before Earl came on the pod, actually. We did a partnership with Shore & Partners. So awesome to have them. They support the Triple Eight race team. They own part of that team. They're my boss. They're also a partner on the pod. So, can't do this without them. Of course, Quadlock as well. It's been a sort of on and off partner of mine for quite some time.
I need my quad lock today because I'm out of sorts, not having my little notes holder.
Yeah.
I didn't bring it with me.
Oh, is that how you usually do it?
It normally sits on the quad lock stand. It's very handy. But,
It's always one of those things, you roll through the partners and the sponsors, and people probably ask, like, why do you need it so much, like sponsorship and stuff? It's so we can come over here, do this in person. So it's a huge thank you. And, of course, our members online as well that support us. Thank you, because it's got us here in front of Murph to have a beer and chat some shit about car racing.
How much merchandise do you sell?
There was actually a fair bit every day nearly there's something going through the website. And at the track, there was a lot on the weekend. Flags, hoodies. I signed so many caps. Some on the grid. I did the grid walk yesterday, and there was actually people out there.
Oh, you big fan.
They cut to the big screen. Yeah, they did. They cut to the big screen. Someone was holding up an Apex Hunters flag with the hoodie on.
There you
So that was
go.
cool. Yeah, it's
That's
good to see. We do have plenty of good Kiwi listeners, so yeah. But in Chicago on the weekend, mate, you were actually having a little
It was
steer.
weird. It was a bit strange not being at Supercars.
Yeah, is this one of the first? That must be one of the first
I
rounds
think
you've
it
missed.
is. First New Zealand round, yeah. So that was a bit strange, and I really wanted to be there too because of support, obviously, the event and Topor, the Motorsport Park. It have a lot to do with that through Tony Quinn's ownership and with the team, Josie Spillane, who runs the whole show, and the amount of effort they put into to give Supercars a great venue. And obviously the Kiwi drivers and bits and pieces. And of course, it's the biggest motorsport event in our little part of the world. So it was weird not to be there. But we had another event on down in Invercargill at Tiratonga, which I was locked into a long time ago before the date was set for Supercars. So, and that was a historic event, effectively.
What'd you drive, mate? You showed me a video before. It was pretty cool.
I'm very lucky that through a relationship with the Giltrap family and Giltrap Group, they've got the 1973 Denny Holm M23 McLaren Formula One car. And
Is that the onboard you shared on your socials? It's on there, yeah.
And so I get to steer that around. I'm entrusted, and that is it's got a Ford DFE in the back of it, and it's beautiful. It's been restored beautifully, and I get to stick my ass in that and listen to the noise and enjoy pretending to be Denny Holm. Yeah, and it's, for me, that is one of the really cool things about all that historic stuff, because I love it and appreciate it, and obviously those are heroes of the sport. They what put New Zealand on the map as far as motorsport goes, and here you are actually driving the car that he won a Grand Prix in and campaigned and stuff, and it's a McLaren and all those cool things. It
is actually crazy. I heard Liam Lawson, which is great to hear him recognise actually that it's a shame they don't play the Kiwi national anthem when McLaren wins. They actually play the British one, and he said it was nice for him to actually have that recognition of where he comes from as well.
Yeah.
So that's
I think Zach Brown really has a strong sense of that with McLaren. That he's sort of evolved it, I think, quite a lot. From when it changed over, and he sort of got control of it. I mean, he's a big fan of the brand and the history of it, big time, right? And I think McLaren was, and Ron Dennis was, but he did not as much as what I think Zach sort of emphasises around the support of it. So he really does acknowledge the history and the founding of it by Bruce.
Well, I mean, he gets behind the wheel as well of a lot of those cars. So I think he genuinely just appreciates
his collection.
What they are.
Man, his collection.
Yeah. It'd be cool just to drive with them, just to drive some of that stuff, let alone the actual.
I'd be nervous driving half the stuff, though. Do you get worried, in particularly the Danny Horn one?
Oh, you do, but and people go, what's it like to drive? And you're like, it is. I mean, they knew what they were doing back then.
Yeah.
They knew their shit. They knew how to develop cars and stuff. And the thing is sublime. It is sublime to drive. Obviously, you're not driving it the way they used to drive them, but you get in it and you feel comfortable. It feels at home. It gives you a heap of confidence. It's just good. The gear shift's beautiful.
Yeah.
Everything about it is stunning.
It's funny you say that, because we were at Adelaide Motorsport Festival and you were there too. And I drove a Sierra, and that was the first thing I said when I jumped out. I said, for a car that's as old as it is, like, you can tell people that built them knew what they're doing, because it's like the perfect little race car. Stop good, turn good. Like, it was just everything was there you wanted it to be. Heaps of power, which surprised me. I thought, maybe it'd be a bit agricultural.
When the boost comes in on those things, though, like watching the onboard when Elliot was in it, the boost come in on that the Yokohama car you were in, and holy shit, like, it pushed him back in the seat. I don't know how, like at Bathurst, you'd want to keep it up there across the top. And I think even turn one, Dick said he used to just go to full throttle at the apex.
And wait for it.
Because by the time it came in, it was at the right.
Can you imagine
trying to time it.
Trying to do that across the top or something, and just it kicks at the wrong top.
As you're unwinding the lock, get the boost to kick in at the perfect time.
They are so, and that's,
because you've driven the Peanuts.
The fans love them. Yeah. And I've driven the one that was turned into a smouldering wreck on the weekend down. I
saw that.
You see the picture of that?
Yeah. That's sad. The Shell Sierra.
It was. I've driven that car a few times, and it is a beautiful car. And the owner is, his love affair with that car is amazing, and he's he dreamed about it from when he was when he was young. He used to follow DJR, and then he owned it and bought it, got this thing. It's his special baby toy. He's going to fully rebuild that. He's like this is what's got to happen. I've got to do it, and he'll get it done. But
is that the one that's owned by Bowden's? No,
that was it. He got that from Bowden's car, but they've got another one.
Yeah, because there was one in Adelaide.
Yeah.
Did you keep an eye on the Supercars across the weekend as much as you could?
Absolutely.
Yep. So you still watched it all?
100%.
What's your takeaway from the weekend? What are your thoughts? I mean, Matt Payne was pretty much a masterclass in that particular last race. I thought the way his aggression passing was super impressive.
He was patient.
Yeah,
like he took it, made his opportunity stick, right? He's got a real brain on his shoulders, eh?
Yeah,
he's got a great personality, Matt. And what was that? Was that his third and fourth win, or fourth and fifth win?
Third and fourth, I thought, wasn't it?
Yeah,
he won.
Adelaide was his first win.
To win that, to win that probably says a lot about the type of driver he is to win an event like the Adelaide 500. That's such a tough race, and so easy to make a mistake as a young driver.
That was his rookie year too.
Yeah, exactly. As a young driver, as a rookie. Yeah. So, and what about Ryan Wood? I thought is obviously it didn't come to fruition across the weekend for him. Like, he didn't get probably the pace he had. He didn't get the results he probably could have. But I thought the Grand Prix was a bit of a turning point for him, particularly against Chaz. He's really established himself against him, I think. And then, what do you think?
He is coming, absolutely. He's making some steps. I think, and I spoke to him, post the Sunday 200k race. And, he was disappointed. I don't think he was actually looking forward to talking to me about it, actually, because it was, I think the moment got to him a bit.
Right.
I think Saturday, the first race on Saturday, huge achievement, was a wonderful drive, really controlled, measured, to get his first podium, and what a place to do it. Fantastic, amazing. But I think the moment on Sunday and the chance there that presented itself, which was probably a little bit of a surprise to be able to get his nose underneath Brodie.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of a bit of a rush to the head of the moment, and I was watching it and going, don't do it, because where you're going to end up, where you're going to end up going around that left-hander, and then you get to A1, which you drove on. You drove there on that weekend. It's a very challenging. You do not want to be on the outside around that corner.
No, and also it gives the guy on the inside the perfect opportunity to escort you off.
Yep.
And the whole run to turn 11.
Yep.
You're on the back foot, and people are just driving by you.
And look what happened.
Yeah.
So I think I said to him too. I think you needed to respect who you were racing at that point. It's not some amateur. It's not someone that's going to just get out of the way for you. Yeah. And so he's, I think he sees that now as, it was just a bit of a rush to the head there. And I really had hoped he was just going to take a breath, because of 60-odd laps. We saw what happened in the two shorter races with tyre dig.
Yeah.
It was a management race. It was a tyre management race. And straight away, you want to lead, and fresh air is good. But I think it was a time to settle.
And he's already picked up a win. He was already into P2 from.
That's right.
He was already up to 2 off the line.
Right.
So he's already in a good spot.
And so capitalise on what you'd done. What you knew you had, what you did on Saturday, and be patient with it and look after it. And it and then it unravelled a bit from there.
Yeah.
So I don't think the penalty was justified.
The thing that might have made it unjustified was probably that the day before Chaz really escorted Brodie off on the exit and didn't get a penalty, and it was like. And I'm not at all a fan of this unwind the lock and escort the guy off the road. It's not really a pass. It takes no skill, no talent to do it.
We can all do it.
Everyone can just push someone off on exit. So I think that the fact that was almost like the precedent was set then, and that's what I think Brodie. I spoke to him last night. He was saying that's what bothered him. He's like, it shouldn't have been a penalty really, because if it is, then the day before should be. Yeah. So if we're going by the rules they're setting, this is where he talks about inconsistency. That's going to be their biggest problem, I think.
Yeah. I thought it was a little. I thought it should have just raced on.
Yeah.
It really should have raced on.
They both self-penalised themselves. So Brodie trying to hang the outside and stay on the marbles, self-penalised himself. Ryan for getting in that position, self-penalised.
Big time. Yeah. And then if that's the case, then when Paney actually took Cam Hill.
Yeah,
it's like
it was actually, and he was all 4 wheels off the track. The outside wheels,
all 4 wheels,
the white line on the inside.
So it's like, well, if you're going to let that happen, I mean, that was a hey, listen, I'm happy with it.
Yeah,
I'm happy with it if the judges are happy with it. Play on. I mean, I think some of the stuff this year's just been epic. I just love it.
Yeah,
and that's what I think I've been talking about for a very long time. Around, this is the way it should be. We're not about fencing people. No one fences anyone, right? So if we've got a bit of, I don't like. We know that banging someone from the back and pushing them out of the way is not on, right?
Again, takes no skill. You just bleed off the brake.
Yeah, absolutely. But when you're gonna, and Cam was great. Cam Hill was great about that pass too. He was like, he was fast and bits and pieces. He wasn't bothered by it necessarily, which is good. But you've got to remember that when it's done back to you, you've got to accept it as well.
Yeah, I think that's been the issue with a couple of guys. Like
Beto
said,
need to remind them.
And he said, like, the people that are coming to me saying they're not a fan of it are the ones that dish it out, but then as soon as they get it back, they're blowing up.
Yeah, well, that's easy to take care of. You go, well, just go and remember what you've done in the past.
Is it more like it used to be, do you think, now? Like, because I feel like there was always highlights, particularly you and Ambrose, always had a great rivalry.
It's always.
Well, I mean, when we look back, it's always because it's all they clip.
But it was probably quite boring, though, in comparison to some of the stuff
what we see today.
Yeah, I mean...
Because there's only ever sort of 2, 3, maybe 4 guys, when now there's 6 to 8.
That's right, or more. Yeah, right. I mean, when you think about some of the battles and stuff, and we had great battles. There's some really great battles and stuff. But I think it's more close quarters kind of stuff these days. You think about when we were winning Bathurst back then, there was no bloody big fights to the end. And we do get more of those these days, I think, than what we do. They were quite sort of boring in that respect.
You rarely see someone with a 2-second gap across the line.
Yeah.
Now.
I mean, we have in the last little while we've seen some races, but you've got to remember the great ones. You're not going to get a barnstormer every year, are you?
Yeah, exactly.
But we want to see great racing, and I think allowing what we saw a bit of on the weekend and what we've seen at the Grand Prix and this year, and also at Sydney.
Yep.
bring it on, right? That's what the fans want to see. We want to create, opinions, and we want conjecture, and we want to talk about. You got to be respectful. You're allowed to have them. Let's not get all this abusive crap going on that happens on social media and all that kind of rubbish, because that's just get out of hand. You're allowed to be passionate, right? You can be passionate, but don't get stupid about it.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit now, obviously not connected so much to any brand and stuff, and I just want to see whoever, but I just want to see the drivers, earning their money by providing entertainment.
Yeah.
What the heck is a quad lock?
Watch this to find out. Whether you're in the car, on the bike, on the water, in the air, your phone is an important tool. Keep it secure with Quad Lock.
The only thing I reckon we're missing now, we've got the on track, is the drivers seem to get out of the car and they're not aggrieved. They're quite happy with it. And I'm like, surely someone on the weekend would have got out pissed off and thought...
Well, Brody was a bit on Saturday, wasn't he, after the Chaz thing?
Yeah, but he still jokingly sack taps him on the podium. And I'm like, it's funny, I guess, we're seeing these personalities, but you're never going to... You don't tune in because, like a podcast with, I think it was Chaz, I was surprised the numbers on one of the pods he went on was really low. And I think it is, people know what they're going to get because it's always this polished, like quite happy... response to most questions. But I'd love to see, like Cam Waters during the race, he was into Richie. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
Richie was it was Golding. Sorry, it wasn't Richie, it was Golding. And Golding was holding him off, and you could tell it was giving Cam the shits. And he escorted him at one. He got down the inside, and instead of turning in, he did the, like Shane used to do all the time, just never turn in.
Yeah, just keep going.
And I'm like, that I would like to see Cam in that moment out of the car. Like that's the Cam you want to go down there, because clearly he wanted to say something to him, because if the door was open he could talk to him, he would have. Yeah. That's what I think we're missing, is that out of the car.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you'd still be burning though by the time you get back. It's just they're scared. I don't know why you'd be worried. Like I mean, at Tassie I went
You're
down.
bigger than me though.
It's not main game, I get it. But there's still big commercial money involved in that stuff now. Like it's $250,000 for a budget now. So I've still got sponsors that I can't go down and headbutt someone, but I still marched down and told someone what I thought. And then people looking at you like, oh, well, you can't do that. It's like, yes, you can. Like, if I think the guy...
Even Dutto getting in trouble, I think, was unnecessary when he...
Yeah, pushing him back from the...
Man,
what do you think of that?
It was ace.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, there should be no trouble about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, it's what are we in this for? We're not in there to... It's serious stuff. You've got responsibilities. Yes, okay, and then there's responsibilities, obviously, that you don't want to make your sponsors think of you wrong or bloody get in trouble with them, that kind of thing. But I think they also want to be on television. I think they also still want to be seen. I think they want their brands associated. Yeah. They want to see them. It's just, it's all a bit woke.
The highlight scene from Bathurst, that crash, though, is just as much of you out of the car with Ambrose that day as it is the accident itself. That out of the car. If you'd had the accident, just both walked separate ways.
So why do we still play it? Why does it still get played on TV?
Because no one's doing it. There's no fresh stuff. That's the last time people went...
so it was okay. It was okay. Okay. Listen, I'm sure both of us. I wish it hadn't happened. To be, didn't want it to happen. Didn't want to be there doing it. And for those people that go, you could have driven the car back. Yeah, you're right. I think I probably could have driven it back actually.
Could you actually? Because I had heard that rumor.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I hit the wall hard.
If you watch it, runner-up in that championship too, didn't you? That year, I thought was that the year you finished second?
No, that's 5. That was 2000. What year was it? 5. 2005. No.
You were 2 and 3.
No, I was nowhere.
I think.
Yeah, I was nowhere in 2005.
Oh, okay.
That's why I didn't drive the car back. You thought I'm going down the Oxford. I'm going to the bus.
It's one of those stupid things. People go, oh, you just wanted to get out and have a punch up. I'm like, no, I didn't actually, but I hit the wall. If you look at the video, but I mean, they were tough, and I just don't know why I didn't think just keep going. It was bent, but it wasn't broken down.
Yeah. The track was blocked too, so you probably think this thing's a red flag or whatever. Like,
no, I just hit the wall that hard, and I was like, she's done, and it was like boom. I think it was more on the back. The diff housing was bent. Yeah. But I'm pretty certain. From now thinking about, from memory, and then at the time and everything, it was like, oh yeah.
As a fan, I'm glad you didn't drive it back.
Yeah.
Created that moment, and we haven't really had any since. That's why I keep playing it.
Yeah, maybe. But it's two blokes who didn't like each other and weren't prepared to give each other, the room.
But it's even like, speaking of highlights, your 5 minutes thing, where you're having a spray because you've got the 5 minute.
Every Bathurst that still gets played.
As you say, Kmart on the chest would have loved that at the time because it still gets played.
I don't remember them. Complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they didn't.
Why'd you go to the shitter? I always wondered that.
You had 5 minutes, mate.
Well, yeah. Well, It wasn't actually that. It wasn't that long into the stint because I got in the car. I got in the car.
Yeah.
Todd got out. I got in, and then whenever then it all turned to shit, and then they made the decision and came, and so it wasn't that long in, but it was like if you sitting in the pit lane for 5 minutes, sitting in a supercar, I just was like, I'm not sitting in here, for
Shut
5
the
minutes.
door and have your moment.
Yeah, but then I got out, and then it was like, well, what are you going to do now, dickhead? Like, where are you going to go? And there's people everywhere. That was pretty funny. Old Rob Crawford, he thought I was gone, and I got out and I was like, I'll just go and take a piss because
you could hear you screaming in the portal.
I was going nuts.
Yeah, I could hear it. When
So you actually need to go to the bathroom, mate. You're just I need somewhere to go and vent.
I got out and then went, that'll be the best place. Then I'll take a piss as well. And I just I was bashing the shit out of the thing.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah, pretty much, exactly right.
Are you a fan then of what Berto's doing at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or what do you see as the challenges? The consistency being probably number one?
Yeah, and listen, we're quick to judge.
Yeah.
Aren't we? We're quick to judge over a lot of things. He gets 95% of stuff right?
Yeah.
He's a great DSO. I absolutely will tell him that all the time.
Yeah.
He's going to get some stuff wrong. What he does need to do is not try to justify it when he does.
Yeah.
He's just got to go, okay, whatever. Don't even say, yep, I agree, don't agree. Just, he doesn't have to reply.
Yeah.
He doesn't owe anyone anything,
Yep.
right, from the decisions he makes. It's a tough job. He does a great job. Everyone will agree, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Absolutely. So when there's a mistake, and I think the Ryan Wood LeBrock thing at the Grand Prix, I think that was rushed. I think that was a bad decision on my part. And I'm not being because I'm biased because of Ryan in any way. I just think that it needed time. It should have been looked at after the race. And so I agreed with Shane and Scott coming on and having their go. I didn't get involved in it, but I just think it needed a breath. And he needed to wait. So I disagreed with that decision, but I agree with just about everything he does. And I know he's wanted to have more rope and wanted to give drivers more rope over a period of time to let this stuff happen on the track.
He said he actually rang me last week. We had a great chat, probably an hour and a half. We were on the phone last week about, and because he has listened to a few of the pods, or someone will message him, say check this out. They discussed your incident, and I said the same. Like, you have no need to justify any decision to me, and also it's just our opinion on the incident and what happened. Also acknowledging that the guy on the couch, we don't have the same information they have. But I agree on the Woody
and he doesn't have all his tools at the Grand Prix.
No.
And that's what I was going to say. I think at the Grand Prix, he was telling me, and this is probably where Supercars, I reckon, this is the whole transparency thing. I'd love to see them give a bit more insight into what actually goes on with those types of decisions, especially at the Grand Prix, because he can't even get a live replay. He said, at that stage, I would have had more at my disposal if I was at home on the couch until someone from Formula One returned. Someone comes in and then they can actually get the replays up and switch cameras and things. So the Grand Prix is a real compromise.
Yeah, it is.
That's where but then I sort of clapped back at him, well, maybe it should have taken more time then. But I think that you're right. Like, we want to let them play on more, because as a sport, we shouldn't be playing highlight reels from 10 years ago or 20 years ago now. We should be creating new ones and making the stars of the making the drivers the stars.
I mean, that track, the last few years is just the way it creates racing.
Unbelievable.
It's so wide, right? The corner shapes and the width of the corners
and the speed, so sort of mid-speed, so you can be close.
And as soon as you go half track, you are compromising yourself.
Yeah.
It's just it's amazing. Like, it just creates the best racing, and close too. No one seemed, no one had an advantage there. It was mega.
It is surprising that it creates such good racing, the Grand Prix track.
I don't remember it used to, but these cars, it works with these cars. Maybe it's the format, right? Is it the format?
The sprint
Gen
racing,
3 though, you can follow.
Yeah. Maybe it's got better with the Gen. I mean, the last 2 years with Gen 3, it's just been. Yeah, freaking fantastic.
On steroids, because you do have, the old car was so refined, you couldn't follow through the high speed. Like, you'd go through when it was 9 and 10, the fast left right, and you actually had a gap always by the braking zone at 13, because they couldn't follow through. The aero wash through those two fast corners was enough that you didn't even need to check your mirror. Whereas it actually looks like now they're under attack the entire race. But I think the format is good. I actually think Taupo worked pretty good.
Yeah.
But we wanted to ask her, what is your involvement with Woody? Because I think it's awesome to have someone in your corner like yourself to give advice when, I don't feel like maybe I had that. I think that's something I would have learned from a lot, because that moment with Woody, he probably didn't want the phone call, but he'll reflect and respect your opinion and think about that next time when he does that. That's how you learn. You know, I think it's that come about. What's your involvement?
He's young. He's really fast tracked, right? So I recognised, you know, and I've watched him for quite a long time, and we've known each other, and he's good mates with Ronan and as well, and so we've seen him around a lot. He's a cheeky little shit, you know, and he was. I mean, he's a lot of fun to be around, right? And he's got a great personality, so he attracts a lot of attention in that respect, and he's very likeable. But I watched him in '86 is really when he was doing that a number of years ago now. You know, it was just impressive to see him doing what he was doing. And, you know, there was things that he was doing that people just couldn't even understand how he was actually making it happen. And I started to sort of see and understand, you know, what kind of skill sets he had. And you know, he was on a trajectory, and people were wanting to help him, and because they saw that he was fast. And again, people are attracted to personalities like that as well. Yeah. So not only was he very fast, he was likeable little runt. So, it sort of organically just came together. And when he got to Australia, and then he was being supported by also Scott O'Donnell from HWR through, you know, he started to support him financially, right. And the Super 2 deal was put together. I mean, he went and did Michelin Sprint, basically dominated that whole thing, right? It was very quick, and then he was also doing South Island endurance racing in a Porsche at the right time, and he just absolutely blew, you know, everybody away, right, as he probably should, but also lap times and stuff. People were taking notice and going, "Who's this kid? Where's he from?" And so he built the support sort of network, and then you know, tested for WAU, and they were like, "Holy crap, we need to put him in a car." They recognised it, and that's when we sort of started to form sort of a relationship there. So Scott O'Donnell and myself sort of look after his interests there, right, and I sort of try and mentor him through things. And you know, I've been pretty hard on some of the stuff, right, because he is, you know, again, young, and you're thrust into this space, and you know, you're now a professional race car driver, and we know what we, you know, got up to, and it's just easy to, I think, to make some mistakes. Yeah, and
so you help him with things outside the car as well, because that's probably my biggest weakness when I came in. You get thrust in the main game, and
there's an expectation. We put an expectation on him on what we expect from you know, the support that we put in, and what he needs to do to ensure that he has longevity, you know, in the sport. So focus on things. And, you know, he got criticised massively about his weight, right? I mean, that's just, it was focused on people sort of go, "Oh, he's overweight, he's not focused." Well, that's not the case. He's a big bone boy, but look what he's done. And at the end of last season, towards the end of last season, he's just like, right, this is going to change. Yeah. And he's just blowing everybody away, blowing the team away by showing. And that's the thing. Big commitment. Show commitment. Yep. You've got all this investment, you've got all this belief for these people. Show them. Yeah. Don't. Yep. It's not just about driving the car. It's other stuff. And so he turns up, you know, back at WAU in January.
16 kilos down, just like.
And the whole team goes, whoop, lift, you know. And that's the kind of thing you've got to do if, you know, to get a team to walk over hot coals. Yeah. Right? And that alone has just been such a massive, massive thing. The inspiration he's provided, you know, and that is he's showing commitment. Yeah. He's absolutely showing commitment to it.
You've articulated that so well. I've tried a few times, like when we talk about driver weight and stuff, I've actually said that it's you know, the perception as well is important. And it's like, you know, when I talk about, you don't have to be. He was fit, I'm sure, before.
He was fine. But the perception, he never struggled in the car. Yeah. He wasn't struggling to do his job. But people were like, people looked at him and said, "Well, he's not working hard enough." Yeah.
And that's the thing, it is perception. It's even when you walk into a room with, if sponsors want to take you in and be, you know, putting you on display effectively. Yeah. And when we are athletes, you walk into a room and you line up next to AFL players and things like that, they look at us and think we don't put in the effort or we don't try just because of the perception. Doesn't mean you are unfit. But I think when, you know, you make such a good point, drivers, and it's always good for young kids listening too, you know, you're like, putting in the effort, it's not always just about being the fittest, but you can change the narrative in a team. And last year we were talking about, like Woody, saw him last night, and he got into me because I was a bit hard at the end of last year on him, probably on our pod, where I was just saying we see all this potential, but teams can change pretty quickly. They can flip on you. And if they don't think you're putting the effort in and you're not getting the results, or things you have a bit of a bad run for a while, they can check out and almost it becomes a one-car team.
That's my job, right?
Yeah.
Is to keep that kind of narrative going, right? And the reminders of it, because it's longevity. So when it's not about the now, because it's about building all these reasons why you should be seen and create power, right? It's about creating power. I mean, Shane and Scott McLaughlin and Brodie's doing it. They've created power within the fraternity where they dictate things, right? And do you want to be able to dictate what happens, or do you want to be dictated to?
Yeah.
Right? And so I want him to dictate. Like Matt Payne at the moment is dictating, right? Brock and Will obviously dictate. But not everyone dictates, right? And that's why some people's careers don't go where they should, because you don't get yourself in a position. I had a period of being able to dictate what I was doing, and I had power in the sport, but it wasn't for actually that long, to be fair. But that's what you want to be. You want to be able to control that, right? And when you are in that position, well, okay, you might get given a little bit more rope, but you've just got to stay on top. So focus on those things and be willing to sacrifice early to set yourself up. And that's what I want him to do, because you've got to work so hard to be able to win in this category and do that. He's got the talent, there's no question. Yeah. You've got to put all the other pieces together. And so at this stage, be willing to sacrifice, going out and doing that and being a lad and drinking and whatever, and enjoying the life of what maybe a lot of your mates are doing, or people at your age. Well, you can do that if you want, but that's a risk. You're creating risk. So you either sacrifice that now to build something where it's going to be around where you're going to have it for a long time, and then you do have a bit more rope and scope, but you'll also then have runs on the board. You'll have success. You'll have money in the bank. All that kind of stuff. Yeah. So focus on that. Don't focus on the stuff right now that could finish tomorrow if you don't put in the hard yards. Yeah. Now,
was there someone for you that did this when you were younger?
Not as much. No. I had people that I definitely trusted and all that kind of thing, but I didn't have someone that was doing what I'm doing to him or trying to help him with. No.
It's not the first time though you've helped a young Kiwi out, Murph, because I remember 13, 15 years ago you were helping out Nick Cassidy.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Me and Nick were Formula Ford teammates, and you picked him up a few times from my joint and stuff. So you have tried to help other Kiwis along the road. Yeah, and Nick's now got an amazing career.
Yeah, and sort of he sort of set off in a rush. I mean, my dad helped him out a lot. Yeah. Gave him a couple of runs in supercars in cars as well, and and that was all done because we knew what his ability was like, and then he got other opportunities and off he went, and he's ran with the ball pretty good. But yeah, and I get a kick out of that stuff. It's not about anything other than trying to actually give some guidance that's going to actually put you and take the right pathway, because it's very easy to get lost. I think, to be fair, we're going off tangent a little bit. I personally totally believe that's Liam Lawson's problem right now. He doesn't have
people around him.
He doesn't have anyone. Really? He doesn't have someone. Look at Oscar Piastri, Mark Webber. Yeah. Mark Webber is the difference in there. Yep. Show me another F1 driver at the moment that's got a Mark Webber doing what Mark Webber's doing.
No, you're right. Spot on.
And Liam's got nobody. Yeah. He's got some, people that have helped him back here in New Zealand, sort of running the ship kind of thing. So he's got they're not up to it.
Yeah, financial support versus that. Someone like yourself or someone like a Mark Webber that has been there and can help with that mental side of it.
Is totally in tune, networked. Yeah, has the phone numbers. Can talk to anybody. Has the respect. Can be in the McLaren team in the way he is, because they want Oscar to perform. Yeah. Right? At his absolute best. Well, what are all the tools we need for that? Well, Mark Webber's one of them. Absolutely tick. Do whatever you want. Be involved as much as you like. That kind of thing. And it's just so obvious. It's so obvious. And I think there's been a little bit reverse focus on what Liam's, where that's been. I think the focus might have been a little bit too much on on maybe the fame side before the success came.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Oscar, and they have certainly not prioritised the fame side before, and his personality will become. It's so unique. Like his personality is just all business.
Because at the end of the day, what's it for? What's the whole point of doing it?
Yeah, winning races.
He wants to be world champion.
And when you win, what happens?
Personality, like people love you.
And then what happens? And then everything else follows through.
Yep.
You don't win? Nah.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't want to be. You want a personality. Look, Kimi Räikkönen is one. Like his personality early. Shane even. I mean, once it was undeniable that he was winning all these championships, his personality became. People loved it. And he never changed. People hated it at the start. You start winning, and it's kind of that.
It doesn't matter.
That's all he focused on. And Oscar, I think he's doing that now. He's just focusing on getting the job done.
I love his personality.
Yeah.
Dude, when he crossed the line and pole, cool. Thanks, guys.
It's like, it just doesn't change. Like, it's hilarious.
If he wasn't a Formula 1 driver, you'd swear he's an accountant or something.
Oh, yeah.
He's rock solid,
or a street sweeper. I mean, it's just like, it's just fantastic. Yeah. Like, it really is good.
It must be hard for Liam, though, in that situation now, because Helmut Marko is ruthless.
So hard. Like, I don't get it. I just don't even understand what's going on. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
And now he'd just be like, it felt like a punching bag, and now Hadjar as well is quick. So he's.
Why did he get there in the first place?
Yeah.
Why did he get given that drive? He got given that drive because he got given these terrible opportunities, thrust in the most worst case scenarios, and performed.
Yeah.
Mentally, I believe he is incredibly tough. I think he is. How do you deal with those situations in that paddock if you don't have strength?
Was it Friday at Zandvoort? He wasn't even driving.
Yeah, he was roaming around doing public appearances.
Yeah.
As the reserve. Yep. And next minute, by the way.
Hadn't raced a car in 7 months at one point. They put him in for a Grand Prix.
So this whole thing is so bizarre. It is so bizarre.
It's a shame that it happens to drivers. And it does happen quite a lot, though, I think. Like, I think that that's why I love chatting about the Woody situation. I was really curious about it because there's a lot more to just driving the car. And there's a lot of fast people, particularly when you get to that level. Like, at that level, even supercars, there's not many people that can't drive. And we're seeing it. Cooper Murray is a great driver, and he is in the wrong place at the wrong time a lot at the moment.
Yep.
And I feel like he needs the right person around him.
Exactly, because he's making desperate decisions.
Exactly.
And he doesn't need to make desperate decisions.
But he needs to. I made a lot of desperate decisions. It's like it's hard to hear it because I did the same, and what you're doing is really good. I think it's a good insight.
Yeah, and so it's really important, and so I mean we've got some work to do, on that side of it, and more conversations to have about it because he's the team are so supportive. The team back him 100. He knows that he doesn't have to worry about it. And that first win I don't think is it's really not far away. But he's got to piece it together.
Yeah.
And just there's some decision making that we just need to work on. But the team's not going to be fussed by that at the moment. But we don't want to keep obviously repeating those things. You've got to learn from them and move forward.
Yeah.
One thing that always happens when Supercars comes to New Zealand is the Kiwi drivers step up. And again, we saw it on the weekend. Yeah. All the Kiwis stood up and they
Andre
always
was in there.
Always get a result in New Zealand. I don't know what it is with you guys. You just rise to the occasion. We'll bring back to you, mate, because you did that at Pukekohe. You were so dominant at Pukekohe.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah. What's the special sauce you guys take?
I don't know. Everyone thought that I used to live there and used to ride my bike around there after school and stuff. I didn't race there. I didn't drive there until in Formula Ford 1990 was the first time I drove there and stuff. I mean, what's not to love about that track? Yeah. But 96, you guys, you probably don't know if you remember or have referenced it or not. But so we went there in 1996, right? 12 Group A cars. After Bathurst, Mobil basically put on the Mobil Sprint Series in 96. So 12 cars got shipped to New Zealand. So the season had all finished. So it was November. Mm-hmm. And 2 DJR cars, 2 Stone Brothers cars, 2 Perkins cars, the 2 Coke cars, our 2 cars, Glenn Seaton, and one other. I think there was 12. And we did a sprint format in New Zealand at Pukekohe. So it was 3 sprint races on the Sunday. It was just our normal V8 championship or Group A championship format, and then the last ever Wellington Street Race happened the following weekend. So it was 2 weeks. I was, Brock was my teammate. And so we did the race at Pukekohe, and I won all those races that day, that weekend, from pole. And then we went to Wellington the following week. It was the last ever Wellington Street Race. So, I mean, this is in the 90s. There hadn't been a Wellington Street race for ages, and then someone went, "Hey, let's do this," and it all just got put together. Can you imagine trying to do that today? It was just bizarre. It was so good.
Even the OH&S would just be like, "No, we need
mate,
12 months of
if you watch
planning
video
for
of it, there's people standing in car park buildings like there's no railings, no nothing, just hanging over the edges. There's around the waterfront in Wellington. There's a park in the middle with a structure. People are sitting, dangling their legs over the concrete structures over the
It's not
track.
that long ago, like 96. It's not.
Yeah,
It doesn't seem.
It was nuts, absolutely nuts. And so that was my first solo effort. It had been a big year that year. 96, Lownsy had won the championship, and then we won Sandown and Bathurst, and then they went, and he's off to Europe to race 3000. So we went to New Zealand. I got to drive that car, and teammates with Brock, and that's when I actually did my deal for 1997. John Crennan.
Yeah, I remember Creno.
Up to the, on Saturday or Friday in the hotel, and he's presented me with a contract, to be the driver for 1997 alongside Brock, replace Lowndes.
How old were you at that point?
So what are we, 96? I was 24.
Like that moment must have been wild to go into that team. Like you've stepped into the best team.
Brock's your
teammate.
It was insane. Like he was my idol.
Yeah.
I idolised the man back in through the 80s and all that kind of stuff. And then so we and no manager, no one.
Yeah.
Here's a piece of paper. Here's a contract. He's presented it to me. I'm 24 years old. There's no one.
Even ready.
Did you just look down for the figure as well and be like, yeah, cool, I'll do it.
Pretty much.
T's and C's don't really matter. I'm driving a race car. I'm getting paid.
I'm pretty sure because I think it was 65 grand.
Yeah.
And I think I got
Kiwi or Aussie?
Aussie, and I think I felt pretty good because I think I got him to 75.
Oh, beautiful!
Yeah. And
hard negotiation. Didn't realise all the T's and C's.
And you just beat Brock.
Yeah,
that weekend too.
Yeah. So that was that, and then so that was the first. That was the first thing in New Zealand, and that was a moment. It was like this. Yeah, it was insane. So I won the last race of that week of that race meeting at Wellington.
Yep.
It is nutso. Like there's just thousands of people everywhere. Brock had this massive shunt there, like wrote the car off and stuff on the Sunday because it was just a 2-day format kind of thing. And but it just went crazy. Did a big burnout and stuff and bits and pieces. It was mega, and it was this moment where it just transported me in New Zealand sport into this because we'd won Bathurst as well, and it was crazy, absolutely crazy. So then, things obviously went through the next few years, and then we turned up in 2001 as part of the championship, first time championship, and it was, I've won Bathurst, and you now know what that feels like.
Me, no, I don't.
Oh no, you don't.
He's second.
Who won last year?
He's second heap of times.
Yeah.
He was third last year.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing it up. But yeah, I haven't won it yet, mate.
You don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
Yeah.
Mate. Never will.
Shit. I should remember that. Who won last year?
So we're talking about line and
Who
stats.
won last year?
Brody.
Jesus, yeah.
Of course he did.
Brody won it, and Todd Hazelwood, of course.
Yeah, Brody and
Oh, you
Todd.
won Sandown.
I came
you won
third Sandown.
Yeah.
Well, you started to doubt that too, then, didn't you? Fuck, has this bloke won anything? He's thinking.
Yeah.
He's sure he's
That's
won something.
And so then we
It must change your life.
you go. It does, but you go. I went to New Zealand, but it does change it. It was just incredible. But winning in New Zealand at Pukekohe in front of all those people was like maybe bigger in some respects. Yeah, because it was just insane. I mean, Shane knows what it feels like. Scott knows what it feels like.
Matty now.
And Matt knows what it feels like. But Pookie was also a little bit different.
I was going to say that the Pookie, would have been a bigger vibe, I would have thought, than...
It's that front
Cowboy?
straight. That front
nuts,
straight,
man.
everything about it felt... Like one of the coolest memories I have, and I'm not a Kiwi, but in my career, a memory that I have is standing on the front straight. The last race we did there, they parked us on the front straight and they let us just stand facing the crowd, and we chatted to some kids on the fence and people are cheering, and they had the podium. It was a bit of a rub in your face moment too. The podium was right next to us.
Yep.
But it was such a special feeling to have, like, the fans here are so knowledgeable and authentic. Like they'll get photos with the engineers. Like Richard Holway will get photos because
they know who he is.
They know he
right.
engineered some of the greats. And Robbie Starr, another one. He walks out the back of the garage, and the motorsport enthusiasts here are so knowledgeable. They know who Robbie Starr is, when he was number one, when he was race engineer, and I don't even know if back home there's a track that has that sort of feeling to it.
Is that because it's taken for granted?
But I didn't get that vibe at Taupo. You're right. Like that's where I say, I go to Pookie and I feel like the garages felt accessible and smaller and closer. Like they really have a separation now at Taupo to the sports where I was.
Yeah,
to the back of the supercar paddock, can't see it. It just didn't feel.
I mean,
Pookie was just special.
I mean, I remember, when standing up on the hill, when they stopped up on the hill there, Shane had
won that day, yeah.
And I actually got to do the interview. My God, like the tingles down the spine. Like it was something. And so, I mean, he was feeling it, and you know him better than anybody, and the emotion around it.
Yeah. Well, he said he went home that night and just sat in his downstairs lounge and just rocked. Just so that's
in the fetal position.
The coolest moment of
Yeah.
What was Hamilton like?
I didn't lie. I went shit there, and I never liked it. I never was a fan of it. I thought it was a desperate sort of supercars move to get a street circuit. Right. It never had atmosphere.
Because they're obviously wanting to do more.
Yeah,
supercars want to do more in NZ, so they bloody should. Do you reckon is there room for a street circuit to come back to NZ? Do you think? No.
Where would if they do a double header? Because they've locked in Ruapuna, haven't they?
I don't think it's not been announced. I think
it has now.
No,
Scott just announced it.
To be honest, I mean,
Murphy says it's in.
We did drop early last week that. Well, we've already called it as well that Brad's going to Toyota, so I put that up. I did an AI photo of him sitting in a Camry.
And that Waters is at Premiere.
Yeah, I've already called Waters at Premiere.
Woo!
Yep.
I need to listen to your pod more.
Oh man, I'm just calling it out there. Yeah, we 2 days before.
Well,
GM,
Tickford are doing their usual bloody inconsistent bloody.
Well, that's why I'm like, I feel like I think he has a great relationship with them. But I think
some great people there.
He'll go, fuck, I've got to do something different because this hasn't worked and the consistency's not there. I mean, Premier's not either yet, but who knows?
How do you, Sydney Motorsport Park, you win, you
dominate.
You absolutely smash everybody. I mean, maybe this is just the way supercars is at the moment, which, awesome.
Yeah.
But wow, it's
wild, isn't it? Even, to be honest,
and to be fair, I thought,
and then this weekend,
and I thought maybe Taupo is a little bit more like Sydney Motorsport Park, and certainly surface wise, and dig and tire, the way you look after the tyre and everything. But they just didn't.
We probably saw that with Fords being competitive like they were at. I think Fords are more competitive at Sydney, and then they were again at Taupo. But Cam never had what he had at Sydney.
No, and he was on pole last year.
That's true.
At Taupo.
Was it?
Didn't last long.
Yeah, because that was the start line crash with him.
Oh, that's right, he was too.
Oh, did he get pole on the? Is it qualify? Maybe it was wet.
He poled it by half second. Actually, you're right. It was wet.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. Forget that.
Yeah. But do you think that has an impact then here, the fans and the because we do see him step up. Andre Heimgartner won last year as well. Like it's always impressed me.
It's I don't know. I can't.
You won 9 Pookies.
9 races, yeah.
9 races, yeah. I mean, Matty's already at 2 and he's 22 years old. Like, when they said that on TV. He's 22.
I mean, I don't know. I can't answer it. I don't know why. But as I say, the feeling, the vibe.
Yeah. Talk about young drivers then, and maybe for yourself not having that. You get 24 and you're in the best seat in the paddock against Brocky. Is there anything you look back now and think you would have liked to have done something different if you had yourself in the corner like you are with Woody?
I definitely, it was my, I was in a rush. I was actually a little concerned about trying to be as good as Lowndes.
Right.
Really?
Right. Yeah. Because he had an advantage over me through those, through the 95, 96 thing. There was, he was just faster. And then when I got the chance, we came to New Zealand, was the first time it was my car, right? I wasn't sharing it. And I suppose I performed out of my skin and that built confidence. So I went into 97 pretty confident, but I think I was too concerned about being compared.
Right.
Right. So I think, it's 1997. There's not a lot of sort of support around the place. It's not like it is now where there's, the idea of sports psychs and everything else and bits and pieces. It was just, because we're pretty amateur. Yes, it was a professional team, but in the 90s there was only 6 or 8 cars or cars that were run in a professional capacity. Right. So I think I was concerned about being compared, and then things didn't quite go well. And to be fair, I think I started to probably not have the best attitude sometimes. I mean, that was part of my problem really through a long period. I'd flip out quite a lot and be pissed off and angry about things and bits and pieces. That needed to be controlled better for sure, and at times it might have been, but I think I definitely could have done with someone really telling me to pull my head in at times and to refocus and have better control over the bad side, when things weren't good kind of thing. I think I definitely would have done better and had probably ended up having better results for longer if I'd had better control over that and being told to pull my head in and focus and that kind of stuff. So
it's such a tough game when you get in, isn't it? And especially when the pressure's turned up when you get in. And I was going to say with Will Brown, that would have been something he felt very similar to, I imagine, replacing Shane. That would have been a difficult transition to come in. Obviously didn't win the championship the year before, but big shoes to fill. Yeah. And I think he has delivered, but you're right, the teams have probably...
much.
You walk into that place now, the physio's there every day, the support,
But that's the difference with AAA.
Yeah.
You're working and you've seen it before, you already knew.
Yeah. Well, even the diversity in the owners, though, for advice, I mean.
Sure.
For myself.
Well, now it's even more so, right?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, RD ran a ship. Mm-hmm. He ran a tight ship. Yep. And you know him real well. I love the way he goes about what he does, right? Yeah. And he deserves to have the arrogance that he does have on things because he's delivered it. Yeah. He's formed an organisation that I would have thought more teams would actually want to aspire to be. I don't think they do. I don't know. I think they want to be different. If I was running one of those teams, I'd be like, right, we're going to do what they do.
That's the blueprint.
That is.
Yeah. It is exactly the blueprint for the perfect race team.
And what's amazing? Yeah, I agree. And what's amazing is he's not there anymore, but it's continuing. And the people that are now running the ship, and Jamie's his only memory of being a racing car driver is how Roland Dane ran a race team, and he's now steering the ship in a similar way. But look at the people that are still there who have been there and have come through and learnt.
Yeah. 23 years, I think some of them have been there.
Well, how long's Dado been there?
Well, yeah, but even I think he was one of the first as well. Yeah. He was maybe the first employee as well. So he's been there since day one. JJ as well. I know Jeremy's left and come back, but JJ has been there a long time. Tybo, Chris Goose. There's the culture. His family now. He's on. He's that Car One crew. Effectively, they've moved up now. So like Gooey, who was the number one for Jamie all those years, and Dado being race engineer, are now his forces around him running the team and crew chief, and he's kept a family together that was actually his car. And you know how you're talking about being able to dictate things. That was his family on that car, and he's kept them with him the whole way through. And I think that's where we see now that they back a decision from the top down.
Yeah, absolutely. And when there's a mini crisis, they work through and they fix it. They just dig systematically. Listen, I've seen some things over the years where you go, that's a bit strange, but they don't often do it twice, right? Yeah. They learn, move on, that kind of thing. But overall consistency, they smash everybody. They smash everybody out of the park. Overall consistency, right? Yeah. It's phenomenal. It really is. And I think more need to try and emulate what they do.
Yeah. I got a little bit slammed on one of our first pods after Sydney.
Don't read
Someone asked. It was just general consensus was like,
you're biased.
Biased,
and they said, is Tickford now a contender for the title? And I just said no.
Yeah.
And that was after, and I actually said, I reckon at Albert Park they'll be down the bottom. And it was actually because I didn't even know why. Chaz the year before was really fast at Sydney, then rocked up at the Grand Prix and went nowhere. And I thought, I just can't see them having this consistency that's required. I mean, it's hard.
I said the same thing on Sky Speed. I said the same thing on our TV show. Exactly the same.
Yeah. He said it probably 15 minutes ago here. So Murph's backed you up with he said inconsistent. I think you said that
it's
word.
harder than ever,
With TikTok,
though, to
so.
be like.
Well, but they've just never been able to carry it through, and I don't know fully why. Definitely 4 cars, they were never going to win. You know, it was just not manageable. And a 4-car organisation does not work.
Yeah,
they've been better since they've been in 2-car. Right,
for sure,
more consistent, I think.
You know, and you know, I think Thomas Randall's. I love Tommy. You know, and he's a great personality in the game and everything. And he obviously works incredibly hard. And those two together are clearly a good pairing. But they've just got to find that way to be better on the bad days.
it's hard to even know what it is though. Like I've been at small teams.
I can't put a finger on it.
Oh, fuck, I don't know what it is. I've been at the small guys, and I've been at the Triple 8 now. I sit in the garages. I sat there all weekend.
Systems, man.
Just so many
processes. Like you say,
crossing
Triple 8 have now got completely different owners, completely different person running the show. Still the same results.
But people have left as well, though. That you look at like David Couchy. He spent a long time there. You go, it's hard to take it elsewhere. I'm sure he's trying to replicate it.
There's no acceptance. I mean, when Roland was running it, right, there's no acceptance of failure. He did not, he did not take bad performances or failure or mistakes. He did not take them well.
So
right?
cultural, you think?
But
it's
rewarded success. Massively.
Once at Homebush, I was in Super 2. Roland came to me. I was smiling. I come second in the second last race of the weekend, and we were at the thing. You talk about Roland not accepting. This is where I was going with this. He doesn't accept subpar performances. The car was great. I was in that monster Triple 8 thing.
Yeah.
Scotty Mack won the race, and I was second. And he come to the Parc Ferme, and I was smiling and chatting to someone, and he said, "What are you fucking smiling about?" And I said,
First loser.
That was the first thing he said, and he said, "Don't come back tomorrow smiling like that unless you've got a win in like the next race," and like walked off. And I was like, and I guess I'm maybe similar to you. I'm quite a fiery personality, which I personally regret as well. Sometimes I think I would have benefited from someone within someone telling me maybe being a bit harder. But I fired up, and we won. Chaz and I were 14 seconds clear of third the next day, and we duked it out. And I won the last race, and he came up to me, was the first there to say, you just need it.
100%.
You need it. I could see you were. I only had to beat Chaz to finish. I couldn't win the championship. Scotty had done that, and I needed to beat Chaz to finish second. So I was just doing that. I was comfortable, and he knew I needed to kick up the arse, and it worked. And I see that all the time. He was always good at knowing how to treat someone, though. For me, it was get into me and tell me I'm doing a shit job, and sometimes it's putting an arm around someone else. It would just be different for every person, and that's something I see in leadership of teams too, like that I've been at. They maybe treat everyone with the same brush, whereas I do think he was quite good at recognising what someone needed to make him work. Yep. And that I also see.
And it's not just with drivers. That's
still.
It was with engineers. It was with every people, but if you look at the true definition of the word team, that's what that is. It's identifying strengths, identifying weaknesses, and focusing in on people's strengths and making sure that they go where they need to be going and are directed well and given the opportunities where they should be, and then the weaknesses, work to improve them. Yeah. That's how and then putting those people together to be the best they can possibly be as a unit. That's what team is. Yeah. And I walk up, I was walking up and down the pit lane there for those years that I was doing TV, and oh my God, it just, when you walk up and down and you access every single garage. It's so obvious on why success is success. It's so obvious. It is unreal. And I had the best way to look at that by having access to all the organisations for that period of time.
We don't get that through the TV. That's a level of insight though, like that's worth discussing on TV. But I worry sometimes with it that a lot of media and obviously the sporting body's always they're not going to want to upset a team. But I think it's actually good for the fans to see or understand the difference between the teams as well. And it is a unique opportunity for someone like Garth now to be able to walk in and out of every garage. Even though he's still competing against us, he still gets to walk in and out of our pits. But I think fans would appreciate understanding.
But he's a professional. Yeah.
Understanding more about what makes the team work. Because I saw James Courtney post, he said that he was embarrassed by the performance on the weekend. His interview was really good, though. It was very blunt, and it wasn't he said that Blanchard's putting in a lot of investment here, and for whatever reason it's not working, and we need to. There's got to be some hard thinking when we go back home and reflecting on this. But the comments are, well, about time you retired anyway. Should have done it 12 months ago. Very personal at a driver, and that's why I wish we could maybe give some insight into what makes a team good and makes a team bad, because JC can still be fast. He qualified half a second, he said, off the second last row. I mean, you don't just forget. We do this thing, who remembered, who forgot. No. And that's where I do.
So you don't have to go back too far to see some pretty handy performances from JC. I mean, as we know, he's one of the most talented race car drivers I think I've ever seen.
But it happened to Frosty too. And I don't know, did you go through that at the end of your career where you felt?
Totally.
Yeah. Whether it was towards
the end it was miserable. Absolutely miserable.
Well, there was a good little clip of you kicking the shit out of a Kelly's race car there. Was that Homebush? That was Homebush. Yeah,
that was bad. That was so bad. That was so bad. That was the epitome of misery.
Really?
Yeah, that whole year was just horrendous.
What? Just car no good, team environment.
I mean, 4 cars.
Right.
2 brothers, family, all that stuff. First year was not too bad. But I was.
You were out the first year with your back. Was that your?
No, it was second year. It was actually 2012. It was miserable, but I knew things were going to go shit that year when they announced before the first race of the year that they were going to be Nissan in 2013. Yeah. That was the.
They're not going to invest in the cars they've got at the time. They're going to run everything.
It was the end of that.
To the end of its life.
Yeah. So that was. It was miserable. Absolutely miserable. The things that happened that year were just unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. It was shit. And then I had that crash with crashing in the back of Webby at Adelaide. First round.
That's right. Yeah.
And I didn't know at the time, but it re-ruptured the disc in my back.
Oh Jesus!
So I'd had a operation on my back. Remember all that stupid shit that happened? It was years ago. It was like 2003 or whatever. I actually missed a race at the end of the championship. The last race of the year at Sydney Motorsport Park was the end. I was actually in the championship fight, and I was doing the VB Challenge. Remember the VB Challenge?
I used to love the VB Challenge.
They should. Why don't they bring that back?
I've said this to you how many times.
I actually did it, and it wasn't the VB Challenge. I did it against Jack Perkins.
And we used to have so much fun.
I felt like I'd made it. I thought this is the coolest thing ever that I got to do the VB challenge. Well, it wasn't. I wish it was still called the VB challenge.
Whatever, yeah.
Because but you did it in its heydays.
I mean, we used to do. Those were the days. Yeah, so it was such a cool part of, the fan engagement stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm in the whatever car. I can't remember which one I was in. In 2003 in lunchtime on the Sunday.
It was always a Holden Ford, wasn't it?
Yeah, Holden.
It was they'd have like a Maloo or they'd have like an XR8.
Yeah. That's exactly. Yeah. And I think I was in the, it was a Maloo.
Yeah.
H2 Maloo, And I'm pretty sure I remember where it was. I came over the hill, I think it was out of 3, over the hill there, got down the bottom there. And so I'd had, I'd done damage to my back riding a bloody jet ski in 2001. I had to come right and everything was fine. And then I came down the hill and I it was just a standard seat, right? Pulled the handbrake on, and I must have given it such a jolt. I twisted, and it
popped out.
It ruptured my disc, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And I literally couldn't walk, and people thought I'd just done it on purpose, so I didn't have to race the last race and all this kind of shit. I didn't run the last race. I got in the car, tried to, I couldn't drive, like I couldn't move my leg. I was in so much agony because sciatic nerve had been. Anyway, that was the end of it. I didn't run the last race of the year I think it was 2003 when I was running second in the championship. It was just a horror show, absolute horror show. Anyway, got through it all, came out the other side. It was a disaster. Over the summer, whatever break, sort of came right and dealt with it. Anyway, dealt with it for a long time, and then in 2010. I we were on a holiday with the kids. We're actually in Fiji, and so I was driving for obviously Paul at the time.
Oh yeah.
And I was on a catamaran with the boys, and I ducked under to go under the boom as it swapped side, and it went, and it was like, oh shit. So I came back to New Zealand, back to Australia, and I was in a lot of pain. Like I was in so much agony. I laid for the next 5 days in Fiji, just like couldn't move. It was just awful. And got back, and anyway, long story short, ended up trying to think I was going to get on a plane to come to New Zealand to do a ride day. End up going downstairs early in the morning to go to the airport to get on a plane to fly to New Zealand, and literally fell on the floor and was cast on the floor, couldn't move. Ambulance, went to hospital, had a discectomy on my back, so shaved the disc.
Yep.
Walked out. Oh my God, life's fantastic. It was brilliant, great. Hadn't felt this good in a long time. Awesome. And then 2012. Come around I was qualifying at Adelaide.
Yeah, that's right.
And this was the day when we used to buggerise around and bloody try to get a gap. And I was coming around to finish a lap, and so just plowed on the back of it. I didn't know at the time. I didn't actually realise, but it actually damaged the disc again. And then a few weeks later, we were at the Grand Prix, and I was like, oh, I'm losing feeling in my leg. And so I went and saw my surgeon again, and he operated again, did another discectomy, but he said, oh, the disc's that bad, you're in a bit of shit here. Don't expect it to actually be right. And it wasn't. It didn't come right. And so that's when I disappeared for a few weeks.
Yep.
And
Dave Russell jumped in.
I
and
think
Yarks Villeneuve.
and then Jark came.
Oh, that was that.
Yeah.
He came. He was 3 rounds or something, I think.
Yeah.
He did Townsville. And
I
Gold
just
Coast.
remember Townsville because I was drinking beers in that Mad Cow at the Townsville that year. That's all.
That's
I know
cool.
who's driving your car, so yeah.
That's right.
That's pretty cool.
I think me and Gaunty and maybe Dale Wood just tipped him in with him at the Mad Cow.
There you go.
So, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
There you go.
So
I ended up having a fusion. So I had to go and I had a fusion of my L1 S1, L1 S1, L5 S1. And so I was out for 3 months. And so that was problematic. And then I came back. Jacques did 3 rounds or whatever. It was the worst experience of his life. That's what he said, and it was.
Yeah.
And because the car was just a horror show, absolute horror show. Because there was just no focus on it. And then I got back in for the end of the year, and it was just it actually destroyed me. It really did. It was just so bad.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, just mentally and everything. I was just, I mean, it was a bad year to start with, but but you know, the way that it all just unravelled at the end there with Kelly Racing and all that kind of stuff, and the fact that it was just, you know, it just pretended it wasn't happening.
Yeah. Okay.
So did you, at the end of 2012 or during 2012, did you not have anything? You obviously hadn't gone out looking for. Had you told yourself
damaged.
you were done?
Yeah, I was damaged goods anyway. You know, so.
Do you mean the perception of you as damaged goods?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what was I going to do? You know, where was I going? Where do you want to go at that point? I'd been sort of rumbling around and ended up there, and then I was pretty much done. I think by that point I sort of had signed off, and I was 40, and it just hadn't been going good. I wasn't enjoying it, and then it was like, you know what, it's time for a change, and got the opportunity to go back to HRT. And did the last 2 years with JC and as co-driver with JC in the last two years there, and I didn't enjoy the co-driver thing. Didn't like it at all. Just lack of miles.
It's tough.
Lack of miles, all that kind of stuff. I wasn't going to be doing Super 2. Wasn't doing Career Cup. Not driving, and then testing was just a waste of time. No tyres, all that kind of crap. And
Sydney Motorsport Park. We just did the last one. I was running around doing 35s at one point. I qualified at 28.
Yeah.
So you're trying to learn. So I feel you there, Murph.
Yeah,
and that's something the category needs to look at.
And to be fair, in 2013, it was pretty challenging with the new car.
Gen 3, Gen 2 just came in, didn't it? Car of the Future, what have they called it?
And it was a real struggle. And then I shunted the thing at Bathurst. I'd never done that by myself before. And that was it was horrible. I was just like, what the hell? This is bad. Really struggling. 14 was a bit better, but then Scott Young, who was running Supercar Television at the time, came calling and threw the old come work doing TV on the table.
I want to get to broadcast, but quickly, do you feel like, because even I do notice, like I've whenever you compliment you, I guess it's not something that you're not the type of guy that wants or needs it. But do you look back at your career now then, and actually those last few years maybe tainted what you think of your career? Like, do you realise just?
Do you realise how big you were?
How good you are,
because
though?
it was it was a longer period of shit than it was good.
But yeah, I guess.
And
why I asked.
don't take that the wrong way, because don't take it the wrong way. It's just that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I was privileged, absolutely privileged. I went through the best period of supercars, I think.
Yeah,
you know, when through the 2000s was epic.
Yeah.
You know, there was more cars on the grid. Holden and Ford were throwing money around hand over fist.
You got to do cool stuff like the 427 Monaro at Bathurst.
Yeah, I did. And
you're taking that to Goodwood.
Yeah.
This year.
That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, it was just epic times. We were doing so much stuff. We were having so much fun, really. You know, the Holden was amazing. Ford was spending money. Commodores and Falcons were being sold hand over fist.
That really would have been the peak. Because as you say, Holden was huge, spending heaps of money. You were their top guy,
and they looked after us massively.
3 or 4 guys
it was epic. It was epic.
Yeah.
But you wanted, and when you have success, that's all you compare. Everything
of
against.
Course. Yeah.
But
I think though, like I didn't intro you today because I don't think it's necessary. Because growing up, and I know you can tell how uncomfortable you get. I just think it's
growing
a shame.
up. See, that's what makes me uncomfortable.
Age more than results.
Well, you were the post, like you
but
were
I
the
think it's
poster
a
guy
shame.
of our generation.
I think it's a shame because you genuinely you think about Richie and Matty Payne, Shane, Scotty. And for me as well, there's only a few names that you know when you're growing up, and they're the guys that are winning and they are the best of the best. You're definitely one of those. It's just this sport is really, it's so fans would never know that. They would never see that that's something that you consider.
Don't, and that's right.
It's like the 51.
Yeah.
Like when I was growing up, you're the poster guy of my generation. Like you had a Murph poster and you maybe had a Skaife poster or something.
Did you?
But you look at...
But I remember going go-kart racing and you'd always be like 51, Murph fan. And you would see numbers.
Do you know why?
And it wasn't many numbers.
Do you know how that number came about? Do you know how 51 came about?
Yeah.
So when Richo and I got dudded in 2000 because we were at Gibson, Kmart racing at Gibson Motorsport when we got screwed over, and I ended up at Kmart. I ended up back at TWR, right? And the Kmart money came along with it. They were going to run the Young Lions car that year, right? And it was number 15 was the Young Lions car.
Right.
So there was never any plans to run. So it evolved into a 2-car team with Kmart sponsorship.
Right.
And we're like, oh shit, we need a number. And all the stuff then with all the franchises and bits and pieces, and you had to have a rec, what they weren't called recs back then, were they? Oh, anyway, it was pretty complicated.
The Vesco days, though, right?
Yeah, it was pretty complicated. And anyway, so we're like, oh, we got to get a number, and it was like, oh, geez, it'd be good to get number 16, And I think, who had someone had it? Can't remember.
I think it's great you didn't get 16.
Yeah, and why?
I just think 50, 16 doesn't seem like a number.
So we're like, what are we going to do? And I need to get a number and all this kind of stuff. And Doug Brumby from...
Dougie, what a legend, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Sign Zone?
Sign Zone.
Sign Zone?
Sign Zone. Doug Brumby's like, well, if you have 51, then we don't have to cut any extra numbers.
I've got these cut out. Let's just go like this.
That's how it came about.
So Doug Brumby's to credit for his...
Dougie is the man.
Thank God he couldn't be asked doing any more work.
That's it.
We should all think.
Yeah.
That's
that
super
is
cool.
how.
That's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, that's how it came. I know, it's classic. Everyone thinks there's some kind of
So it's nothing to do with you,
nothing.
Something you did when you were a kid.
Then it just stayed, yeah.
It is cool, but I did want to say that you shouldn't be uncomfortable or look back. Like you've got 4 Bathursts, forgetting
I
the
don't
success.
I don't have any regrets.
Yeah,
like
good.
I'm just telling you that's when you're a professional sports person,
your
that's
expectation
your life.
is
that was my life. I had literally, I had no other skill sets. Like I didn't do anything. I didn't go to university or anything. I won a scholarship in my last year of school to go racing Formula Ford. For 2 years, I went and worked for the guy who put the scholarship together at Manfield.
Yep.
After, I won the Formula Ford scholarship, went racing, went and worked for him for 2 years at a driving school, teaching people to drive and running cars. And then I had a year, which was sort of in the middle of nowhere. I went to America for 3 months and followed Formula Atlantic around because I wanted to run Formula Atlantic with Dave McMillan, who ran Roll to America. And I did that for 3 months, and then I came back and ended up in Australia in '94. Was Formula Holden. Peter Adderton turned up on the scene and offered me a drive in a Toyota Carina at the 2-litre race, and it just went dunk, dunk, dunk. And so I had no other skills, and you know, it was my life. And so I was passionate about it, and I wore it on my sleeve. Everyone knew that. But, I mean, to a point where I didn't manage it well sometimes. But that was all I had, and so it meant something to me. So when it wasn't working, or when it was a fail, or it didn't, you know, or there was a fuck up, it hurt. Like, you know.
Even some of the crews probably don't appreciate sometimes what, like, driving in a race team. I called some of the teams like, the category, not semi-professional in a bad way, but a lot of the people that enter the sport in the teams enter the sport later in life, whereas the drivers start at 7, 8, 10, and that's their life, is motorsports, car racing. And in other sports, everyone you're surrounded, particularly when you're on a pitch, everyone's done the same. And that's why I say it's like semi-pro, as in the guys that are in the car have done it forever, and others come in later. And maybe that's where, when a driver gets angry or gets... People don't always understand that, because it is often our only skill set. There's then the pressure of it being a short career, not having longevity. That is where, you know, we talk about Cooper, and hopefully he doesn't feel that pressure, but you do make decisions that are panicked because you're feeling like the clock's ticking.
I made shit tons of bad ones, right? So that's what I'm trying to bring.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's good.
It's all right. But it's a privilege. It's an absolute dead set privilege to do what we do.
100%.
It is an absolute privilege. And I knew that all the time. You know, every time I turned up at Bathurst or whatever, you know, I knew how privileged I was to be there, and how it was like, how did this even happen? You know, why did this happen to me? How did I end up bloody turning left instead of right and ending up doing this? I mean, you know, we were at Eastern Creek in 1994, you know, and I'd won the first 2 races of the Australian Drivers' Championship. And we're sitting there, my dad, we'd spent every cent we'd had to get to there. And we're sitting in the garage at the end of it. And it's like, you know, Peter Adderton walks in and Lifeline. Why did that happen? You know, that was timing. That's fate. That's the way that works out. And that's basically what then started that next phase, because that was the end of us. We were done.
Tapped out.
We were tapped out.
It's a daunting thing to step into motorsport when you think about all these sliding door moments that have to take place for you to end up as 51 in supercars, like as a number 51. It's like, it's actually, naivety is bliss sometimes, because you don't know just how challenging it's going to be from the beginning.
Like, most people would not dip their toes in the most pool if you knew.
Terrible.
Has it been daunting with your kids?
Because you've got, Ronan and Cormac have been doing some
I am
racing.
their worst nightmare.
We had a chat at Adelaide about it, and I was
asked
like...
Ronan and Cormac, they just like, Dad is a prick. Like, it's just, he is our worst nightmare.
Right.
Because I am just not. I support, but I don't. Like, it's like I make their lives misery when it comes to that. And I really do, because it's so hard.
And the chances are so slim.
And the chances are minuscule.
That's why it's a privilege.
Pressure's a privilege, as they say. What is your proudest motorsport moment? Because there's been plenty, I'm sure, but what's the one that stands out? I'm just interested to know, mate.
Yeah, well, you know, 03 just, 03 Bathurst just keeps, you know, it just keeps living on. And I honestly, man, I'm so humbled by that, because it was a crazy moment. It was a crazy thing, you know. And again, why the hell did that happen to me? You know, why did it mean so much?
Yeah.
You know, why has it stood, you know, the test of 24 years?
Yeah, we've never seen anything like it since.
Yeah,
the pit lane though.
You're right, and that's the bit that makes the difference to me, right? Doing a lap and you know, being on pole, that's incredible, but surely it wouldn't have lived the way it has if it hadn't been for what happened.
Yeah.
When we used to drive down the
Unreal.
pit lane the
Chuck a
wrong
Yui.
way.
Yeah.
Do a Yui.
Yeah.
And I was, even at the time, I was so careful to look after the tyres, because I think you had to start on them the next day.
So you're not doing a flick spin, you're doing a very gentle 3-point
turn.
turn.
Really careful to make sure.
No locking the thing.
But then you come down, you're just like, oh, wow. Like, and you knew it was good and you were excited. I mean, you could hear the crowd, but it was just like, what the hell's happened? And, you know, so it's hard to go past. But as I said earlier, the stuff at Pukekohe was, it's close. Like, but it's Bathurst, and I grew, you know, 1984, lying on the floor in the front of the TV at home, and my dad's in Hastings, and watching this beast of a car roll out with Dayglow orange and white with Marlboro down the side, and Peter Brock with his arm on the sill doing this shit. And you go, what?
And
is
then you're
this
his
all about?
teammate.
And what is exactly? And what is this all about? My first drive of a supercar was my first drive of a Group A car was 05.
Fuck.
Like
That's wild.
In the wet at Calder Park.
Calder all joints too.
I thought when Jeff Grech rang me, I thought it was one of my mates taking the piss. Like I was living in Sydney at the time. I always thought life was pretty good. I had a Audi bloody car sitting out the front because I was driving for Brad at the time. Or driving with Brad or against Brad or whatever he used to think it was. And, it'd be mobile phone and stuff, and the phone rings, and it's like, oh, g'day, it's Jeff Grech here. I'm like, oh, yeah, Jeff Grech, what the fuck's he, what? Nah, that's not true. Because
no way he's calling me.
In 95, I was trying to get a drive, a V8 drive at Bathurst, so I was tooling around with that. And he'd been obviously watching, and Lownsy was was coming through, and HRT, they were the beginning of the change, right? With youth trying to find people,
the next driver.
Right. They were, and he was the lead of it. Jeff was the lead of it. I mean, without him, a lot of things would have been different. And it's like, it's Jeff Grech here. Would you like to come? Wonder if you'd like to come and have a drive of our car. And I'm like, oh yeah. Whatever. It's like, who's this asshole, And anyway, it was him. And then I flew to Melbourne and got off the plane in Melbourne. It was like May or something like that. So you can imagine Calder Park in May. It was freezing cold, horizontal rain. And I rock up. They'd hide the whole track for themselves.
Far out.
And there I was sitting under the tent was 05 with Brock on the window. I'm like, oh, fuck, Pete's here. Oh, we got to meet Pete.
Fuck. Were there any other drivers there that day?
Just you.
Just you.
Yeah, and they're like, and it's like, oh, yeah, how you going? Oh, yes. Oh, what's happening? Oh, she's warmed up, mate. She's ready to go. Like, you fucking what? I came onto the front straight the first lap, and the drag strip.
The VHT, mate. Yeah.
VHT.
Good luck to you.
And I'm like, sideways. An 05 down the front. No one had even said anything.
Far out.
It didn't hit any. It somehow straightened back up, and off I went. That was my first experience.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and all I could think of was like,
well, there's another sliding doors, mate. If you'd shunted that thing on your first lap,
there goes Greg Murphy.
Over.
Murph never exists.
Yeah. Who?
What was Brocky like then as a teammate? Did he see you originally as a not a threat, I guess, but
no.
Young? He was pretty open.
He never. That was why he was. Seen and revered as a person. Like he had moments of being really, very serious and stuff, but he never threatened by anybody. He loved, or I think he knew, he saw, he loved the mentor thing. I mean, obviously him and Lownsy had a pretty special bond. I think I should have taken more notice, but I did learn a lot. Like what I learned from him more than anything was obviously the way he dealt with people.
The best, yeah.
He drove me mad in 1997 because he announced his retirement. And so I was always in a car with him and Paul Weissel, who was our, PR guy back then, who was hilarious, and Brock and Bev, and so we went everywhere together, and rental car or whatever. And so he announced his retirement. So we would sit wherever we went for hours and hours. Final tour.
Yeah.
People turning up with 17 items to sign, and he signed every single goddamn one of them.
That's brilliant.
I remember, Oran Park, which was the last round of the regular championship that year. He was there on the Sunday night. Like literally, he did not leave until the last person got their stuff signed, and the last photo was taken. It was, I don't know, it was like 9:30 at night or something. It was so just impressive. Crazy. And I'm just like, oh, for God's sake, come on, Pete, come on, can we go? This is ridiculous, because no one wanted my fucking autograph. So it was, but but later on you go, that's why he is who he is, you know, because that's what he did. He was, and it was purely genuine. Yeah, it was every part of that was genuine, every single part of it. Yeah.
When you finished Supercars, so you've finalised your career at the end when you called it quits and you did the co-driver thing. Was there any desire to do other racing? I mean, I only ask because like full-time thing for me, I probably burnt out, and now I love doing the one-off races, but we didn't really get to see you do many of them.
Yeah.
GT stuff.
Yeah, I did a little bit of GT stuff.
I got a fond memory standing on the podium with you at Highlands in 2016.
Yeah, that's right.
Who were you driving with? Quinny.
With Quinny.
And
the Aston.
Beto was with Armand, I think, and me and Nathan.
He was too.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you do much of that then?
No, not a huge amount. I did a little bit, but I don't know. It wasn't a full-on focus. I moved back to New Zealand, so at the end of 13 too. So we moved back, and which we'd always intended to do, but you know the change in things sort of allowed that to happen. And to be fair, a little bit of catalyst for that was I finished racing, but I still, and maybe this is also a bit of a learning. When you know Supercars was massive through the 2000s here, you know, and Holden and stuff, and when I won here in 2001, and I sort of was like, holy shit, this is big, and being that when the Supercars had come to New Zealand, all of a sudden there was these opportunities just all popped up. So relationships and it's personal sponsorships and then Holden New Zealand and all this stuff, and so I started to spend quite a lot of time back here and worked really hard, maybe too hard on that stuff.
Right.
You know, and maybe I didn't, but things were going well in the car as well, you know. At TWR, you know, I had a great car. Yes, we were the poor brother to HRT, but it was a car that I felt really comfortable in most of the time. Yes, there was times it wasn't quite as good, and you know, but the most thing I enjoyed was actually taking it to the factory team, you know, and
Richard Holway told me Skaife used to hate it when you got up on the roof of the car and celebrated at Pookie, and it was almost, you were aware of that?
Oh shit!
Because Richard actually said
it's not like Skaife hit it. It was so obvious. And he doesn't hide his distaste for things very well.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. Okay, so you were well aware of you get on the roof, how much
and so
that just
motivated me more. But unfortunately, he still ended up winning more races than I did. But yeah, that was a motivator. Right. It was a motivator for the entire Kmart team.
Okay,
like that's what gave us all just the because we were tiny in comparison. You know, I mean the amount of stuff that I think used to happen at night when everyone had left, that our guys used to probably sneak over and steal stuff from HRT from their side and bits and pieces. Yeah, so we knew that that was the case, and so I mean, and it was Skaife wasn't hated that so much that it was important, certainly in New Zealand at Pukekohe, that to try and knock that on the head, that he couldn't have thought of anything better than to knock me down a peg or two. That's for sure. And I know that's a fact. But that's good stuff. That's cool. That's great.
Did that get left in the driving world? Or because I've heard that the TV is very competitive and very political, but he's had a hold on that for a very long time. Is that something that, I guess the battle between you and him being the underdog there, did that ever carry through to after racing, or did all that stuff get left behind with racing? Yeah,
no, absolutely. At least I knew where I stood in all that space, and that was all fine. I did my job, and he did his. No, I think there's a respect there. Absolutely, I hope there is. I have a huge respect for his the stuff he did on the racetrack. Pissed us all off no end. But I mean, if you want someone that was dedicated, and committed. Holy crap! As a driver, he set the bar for those periods of time through at HRT. My tenure there obviously changed a lot because '97 I was full time alongside Brock, and I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming at all. I was blind to the whole thing. Skaife was obviously doing the job there and getting set up to move in there, and from '98 onwards, and then all of a sudden Lowndes turns back up on his 10-year contract after not going well and not liking driving Formula 5000 in England, and what do you mean I don't have a drive? Out the door. It's like, holy shit, what happens here? You know, so, and I definitely, I'm sure I didn't help myself in some aspects of that through that year. It was a tough year. You know, Lowndesy won the championship in 96, and then I turn up and, you know, the expectation is high. As I said to you earlier, I think I really focused on that. And we had all these mechanical failures that year. There was things going on, you know, that broke. I mean, I think was it 2 times off the front row that season. I had a mechanical failure on the front, you know, before we even started the race, and bits and pieces. And I obviously wasn't handling that probably very well either. And then, by the end of the year, I was sort of on the sidelines, and so that was another interesting sort of shift through that period.
It would have been tough back then with not many teams as well being as competitive as HRT was then.
Yeah, well,
You know,
as I
because
said,
there's-
not in the 90s. You go back and look at who was actually winning races.
Because then you've got
and
the
stuff.
best drivers looking for one seat almost.
it was-
Like really, there's quite a good amount of teams at the moment where a driver could land and have a good opportunity at showing what he's capable of.
Yeah, a massive
Whereas
shift.
then those guys had the power to take a driver from anywhere that they thought was the best, and so they're all competing.
But there wasn't many. I mean, we were changing things at that time, you know.
Yeah.
As I said, HRT were changing the way teams were looking at what their futures were around driving. And remember, too, that's when it went through that shift. It went from Group A and it went to Vesco and Tony Cochrane turned up and changed the world for touring car racing in Australia, really. So that was an interesting time. I mean, it seems like it was a long period, but it wasn't a long period at all. It was a very short period of change there. And then the focus started to come with, you know, Bargs turned up and Garth turned up and all that started to happen very, very quickly. And the professionalism just, boom, exploded. And the popularity just went
crazy.
Went nutso. You know, we turned up at Adelaide for that, you know, all of a sudden we got the street race in Adelaide going on.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the hell? And it was just went nuts.
That's one thing I don't know if we see it differently now, but we always say, like, it doesn't seem like the drivers are household names now like they were in the early 2000s, like the heyday of supercars. Like,
Sounds like they weren't before Cochrane.
do you have
or weren't as...
Yeah.
Like, do you have an
They
opinion
were.
on
Brock
why?
was. Dick was.
True.
I mean,
Yeah,
it was
true,
still
they
Bathurst.
always were.
Bathurst
Yeah.
was the Bathurst was
The
the thing, though.
gladiators, yeah.
That was the thing. So the name, but there was just less. So the focus was very tight, I suppose, on a few, and then it spread further.
I would have thought
Interesting. Hadn't thought about that.
early 2000s, you'd probably go to dinner somewhere and someone's going to recognise you, right? At a pub or whatever, someone would go, hey, Murph, or call you out. But, I mean, we've walked around with some of the best that are out there now, and you can go to a pub and no one knows who they are. Like, is there a change? Is just the way we're seeing it? Like,
Yeah,
do you have a view on that? Like,
you can't really use the
Can't
helmet
really
as the
remember.
excuse, because I thought that for a little while. Maybe it's because we've always got helmets on, whereas an AFL player or something, or a rugby player, they got their face out in the field, so people recognise them a lot more.
Yeah, I can't remember
But
back
Dick
then.
is a
Probably.
household
Yeah,
recognisable character.
I mean, mate, we couldn't go anywhere with Brock.
Right, yeah, that would have been.
Was it maybe because the manufacturers were tipping, like you say, Holden and Ford were spending huge, like you were always on TV ads. Bridgestone always had someone on a TV ad, or Dunlop had someone on, like.
The crowds were bigger.
Yeah.
The crowds were big.
So people attending the sport maybe makes you more.
I mean, they were
Versus
big
watching it.
crowds, but then we evolved the sport so much through the 2000s with bigger events, much bigger events and things too. Yeah, I don't know. It's maybe and there's more now. The access is bigger. People did go to the track. I mean, they did come, and that's how they got up and close and personal. There's no phones. There was no other way other than TV or doing it that way. People have got more offerings now. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of competition as well, different sport too.
It's hard to
My
know.
nephew's 11. He watches
I don't
the
think
NBA.
anyone can understand really how it all bloody.
Yeah, no, it's just because I agree with you. I think your era was everyone knew who everyone was.
Oh, it was epic.
And it wasn't just motorsport. I used to be able to name 5 or 6 players in the cricket team. Couldn't do that now. Like I just think
Busy.
as a general sport, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. Just everyone's doing more and got more options. And you don't have as much time. You don't have as much time as we used to have, really, do we?
Yeah. Do you have a thought on what supercars could do to improve the product, or maybe not the product? Because I think our product's probably one of the best in the world. Like in terms of car racing, it's so good.
Yeah.
Would you encourage drivers to do more things like this? Like I've said to a bunch, they should do this.
Well, and there is a bit more happening now too, because these supercars have got their own one now that the drivers do.
It's no
don't
good
they?
though.
Yeah, I haven't watched it.
Neither have I.
Just heard about it.
But I think what advice would you give drivers maybe? Because
personalities, they need, we got to, and there are some great personalities. Just got to be able to show them for sure. At the moment, the racing, I'm very critical when it's not working or whatever. At the moment, it seems to be working. But the thing we've all got to remember is we're not always going to have great races, and that's just that you can't control that. Yeah. You go to a racetrack one day and you go, oh, that was the best race ever. Go and take everyone back there the next day and put them in the same positions and go again. Yeah, shit. It's rubbish. Why? Yep. Well, I don't know. We can't control that. It's just the way things happen, right? Yeah. So it's you're up against so much these days, right? How do you change things? Right? I want to see what happens with our final series and our elimination stuff. I'm a huge advocate for it because it's different. Yeah, it's different to what we've had. Go. Yeah, it's different to what we've had. Nothing to lose. You just have a crack, right? Own it. Yep. Just own it. Absolutely dead set own it and see what happens. Yeah, there'll be winners and there'll be losers. Well, that has never changed. That's something that is set in stone. Yep. So, but I want to see it because I want to see the sport grow. I want to see it improve. I want to see it do things differently to engage with the fans. And the fans, again, as always, some have an opinion and it's justified, and some get out of hand and go over the top. Because we can do that with social media these days and get away with it.
Did you feel that when you would go home after a race back in the day when you did have a battle that was on TV and there was an argument between... Because at the moment, I think a driver, though, leaves the track and it's like kids getting bullied when they leave school now. It's online and it doesn't stop. So
we got sent letters when Marcus and I
by
had...
pigeon.
Yeah, when Marcus and I had... Or an email, so an email came through or whatever, or fax probably in 2005.
Some Ford fan just spraying you.
Yeah. I'm going to fucking find you and kill you, on a... whatever. It's like... That's how it was done.
Far out.
No comments.
Yeah. Do you feel like maybe that hurts some of the drivers wanting to speak out as they see it online, and probably they need it. Everyone says don't look at it. It's really hard not to see it.
Okay, it's really hard. Yeah. If you're going to look at it, you have to find a way not to take it past just reading it. You can't be affected by it because anyone that says that shit, that is just not useful in any way, shape, or form, and is not written with some kind of proper kind of it doesn't have a bearing on what your outcome in your life is going to be. It doesn't change the outcome of what's going to happen next. People that want to abuse and be bullies and all that, they do not dictate your future unless you let them, right? It's pointless. The people that, if you have a bad race or you take someone out, right, and it's happened, and who's going to dictate or decide what your future is? Who's going to do that?
Not the fans.
No, it's the person that pays the bills. Yep. Right? And if they go, well, that's part of it, rock on, carry on. Well, then carry on. It's not the person who's a fan of the bloke that you took out or whatever who wants to call you a name and threaten you in some way. Yeah. That person has no bearing on the outcome. So don't let it have a bearing on the outcome because it doesn't. It just does not. Think about the people who do decide your future. Yep. And that's all that matters.
Put your energy into that.
That's all that matters. And I just hate the fact that we allow that stuff to actually get airtime. There's just no point to give it any airtime because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't achieve anything, and it certainly doesn't affect, what you do. What shouldn't affect what you do next, and how it affects your future. It doesn't. So that's what annoys me about social media and the fact that we do give it air. Yeah. It just doesn't deserve it, doesn't need it.
It's unfortunately a necessary evil, I guess, in this day and age. Because in terms of brands and value, it is important, and it's important for drivers to have a presence. I've heard a lot of Formula 1 drivers actually don't have it. They have someone run it. Yep. They never look at it. They have private accounts. I know a lot of them that have they have a alter ego that they use that they can keep up to date with whoever they want. Yeah. But it is unfortunately a necessary evil that young drivers are focusing on because, when I joined Walkinshaw, they asked me about my followers at Walkinshaw, and I was kind of like, surely that isn't anything, because it was like, how are we going to build this up, Scott? Because JC was the teammate, he was quite a big profile, and it was a priority. And I was like, well, surely if I go out and actually do all right, that will grow.
Yeah.
That has to come as a result of success, surely. Which goes back to the F1 thing. It's what we were talking about there with Oscar focusing on the right things at the moment.
Yeah.
So maybe young drivers focus on the outcome and what you can control rather than that.
Yeah,
first.
I mean, clearly there's lots that want to focus on that because that's where they think that it's they're going to get success from. But at the end of the day, if you're involved certainly in a performance sport, that results are going to dictate your future. That then what you're doing as a footballer or as a racing car driver or whatever it's going to be. I would have thought that that's what you should focus on.
What's next for Murph, mate? Could we get you back in the if the opportunity came around? Would you get back in the broadcast team? Would they get you back in a suit? No interest.
No.
So what's next?
Listen. Let me just put that into context. I was very fortunate to end up doing what I did for the 5 years that I did it. It was actually, it was important to still have the connection with the sport. I didn't need to be driving. I didn't need to be doing that, but just staying close to it. So I was very lucky to do that for those 5 years, and then obviously COVID came along and shut the doors, and I realised how much how hard it was, and I was lucky because Supercars were flying me backwards and forwards from New Zealand to do that job. So it was like it was a bit of special treatment, really. So I was pretty fortunate to do it. But when it stopped, I realised how tiring it was and how actually hard it was to do that. And then I realised I didn't actually need it. And things really got, once sort of COVID started to sort itself out, things were really busy here, and there was more and more things that just filled the void. So it was like, okay, I was thankful for actually that to happen, because I listen, I'm not saying I would have been there now for sure. I probably would have been ousted anyway, but I had another year going on that contract, and then it would have probably then been renewed, and maybe I wouldn't be doing it anyway. But what COVID did was actually separate it and stopped it, and then I was able to move on from it. So no, I don't need to do it anymore.
So what are you doing now?
What's life look like for Greg Murphy here in New Zealand?
It is actually interesting, and sometimes I got to just remind myself how lucky I am, because every day is pretty much different. So we've been doing Sky Speed for Sky. I've been doing that for now 12 years.
Wow.
So that's sort of 40 odd shows a year doing that we film generally on a Monday, review preview of all the motorsport that Sky actually have broadcast rights to, which includes obviously Supercars, Formula One and others as well, World Superbikes, IndyCar, Formula E, all that kind of stuff. And we build a show around all review preview and opinion and talk about the weekend's racing and all those different formula, and we go and film stories and things as well around New Zealand motorsport and cars and bits and pieces. So it's really cool. I really enjoy it. Work with Stephen McIver doing that. So that's been going on for a very long time. But then I now have a role working for TQ's group here. So the TQ obviously owns Hampton Downs, Taupo and Highlands, and I work with his amazing team here, Josie Spillane, who's the CEO. We work really closely, so I do various different bits and pieces with that around events, but also around safety at the circuits, and work with the teams on any issues and bits and pieces, and also a trustee on the Tony Quinn Foundation as well.
Wow.
Where we have this amazing thing where we give a whole shit ton of money away. Had a meeting today actually before this, and we worked out in 3 years we've given away $2.2 million to drivers.
Fantastic.
Around Kiwi drivers. So I'm a part of that with Daniel Gaunt, Steve Horn, TQ, Josie, and John Gordon. So we distribute and do that kind of stuff, which is amazing.
Brilliant. I've always wondered, why does Tony have such an affiliation with NZ? Because he's not a Kiwi himself.
No, he's Scottish.
I just always wondered.
He lived here for a while. He came over here, ended up in New Zealand for a bit. Actually, we should all know this in detail. We should have all read his book really closely. But so he's just got this affinity here. Loved it. Has been coming here for a long time, and then the opportunity really presented with Highlands.
Right.
He got sort of tapped on the shoulder with.
I love that joint.
Yeah, by the guys down there who had a vision.
Mm-hmm.
And so he decided, well, he didn't want partners and be involved in a race track with partners. And so he took the whole thing, bought the whole concept and built Highlands. And then it's just grown and grown and grown from there. But he's got a real special affinity with the place. And it's awesome to be a part of that. I'm very lucky to be a part of that. So that's another part of the process. I work with a bunch of other companies doing a bit of ambassador stuff, a bit of content kind of related things. So it's just brand to brand, and then road safety is another big part. Trustee on the Street Smart board. So Street Smart NZ is a road safety program or driver training safety program that we do for youth. It's actually today it's running, and tomorrow it's running, and Wednesday it's running at Hampton Downs. We get young drivers along and teach them some real skills rather than what you don't actually have to learn.
Actually how to pull the car back
so
in
it's
when you need to.
Controlled environment, ABS stops, emergency stops, awareness, nose to tail simulations, all that kind of stuff to create that seat of the pants cognitive learning. So I was a part of that with Holden back in 2018. We built that program and set it up. Holden put hundreds of thousands of dollars into it. And so I'm trustee on that and keep that going. And TQ last year, after a really horrible situation down in Cromwell where a young guy got killed in a car, decided enough's enough because we've been struggling for funding. Haven't been able to get government funding for it.
So it's the same in New Zealand because that shits me in Australia because I was driver training for ages.
Yeah. Cool.
They talk about the biggest killer.
But why it's not a prerequisite that you have to go and do a proper defensive day before you get your licence and then every 5 years after that?
Because someone needs to fund it.
Yeah, but we're paying so much for all these...
But we kill 200... we actually had one of our lowest road tolls, thank God, last year that we've had in a long time. For no one will really know why, because... there's lots of reasons for it, but 300 people dead in this country is and they estimate that the cost for every death and socially and just the cost of it all is like $12 million per person, and yet I can't get one solitary cent from the departments that in transport or anything to put towards what we do.
Think about it. If your rego was $50 more a year, but your kid got a defensive day when they get a license, you'd pay 50 more.
100%.
Like we're all paying that much in rego and taxes.
Well, how many parents would be scared when their kid gets a license and goes for the first drive on their own? Yeah, you're one now.
Terrified. I've had two go through. I've got three. All three of my kids have got their licenses. And it still thinking about it terrifies you because what you see on the roads every day. So
Quinny's backed that.
So he came through again, tipped in $750,000 over 3 years, $250,000 a year. So which has got us going again. So we're into our second year with funding from TQ for that, which is just phenomenal. And we just know the work. We know what we're doing. We know what's happening and what we're achieving and the responses we get when these kids have done these days. And the beauty of it is a parent comes along as well, has to come along with them. And the parent's like, oh, shit, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, the parent goes, I was teaching them all these bad habits.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
So that's a really important part. And then I do some other stuff and advocating and road safety stuff as well.
Oh, that's really good, mate.
So it all comes together. But days are always reasonably interesting.
So you're a busy man.
Yeah, and more so here in New Zealand now too than what I which is good. I bit over the backwards and forwards in the travel, so New Zealand's pretty easy to get around. And the reason I came back to New Zealand in the first place after the whole racing thing was really because I saw opportunities here. It was more, if you want the analogy, bigger fish in the smaller pond in Australia.
Yeah,
you're just you're minuscule, and so I'd created sort of a pretty strong sort of a lot of strong relationships, but also a brand sort of recognition here in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So it's worked quite well.
It's great.
Couple quick questions from our members that sent them in. I'll just select just a couple here. The favourite, Sylvester Hannigan, we answered this one actually, which was your favourite moment in racing. But could we ever see you make a feature in SADA?
Oh,
I did it once.
Greatest motorsport. Well, actually, you did. Yeah. Sorry, with Greg Rust.
Yeah, with Rusty, and that was a few years ago.
It's a pretty loose event.
We're on this year, I think.
It was loose.
If the dates are what Shane said it's going to be, we could be on.
It was so loose. I need to, but you got to get an invite.
Yeah, Shane's like.
I'm sure you'll get an invite, mate.
And then from Kate Cooper. Toughest competitor. This is one we didn't actually ask that, but someone that throughout your whole career, and it may be someone we don't know, it might not be Skaife or someone common.
Oh, yeah.
But toughest competitor, and then also the toughest racetrack that you didn't get the results you wanted at.
Oh, you're right.
So 2 questions.
It wasn't really one through that period of time. You know, if you're talking about through the 2000s, which really was just was nuts.
Well, it doesn't have to be a supercar compared to anyone. Even if you grew up racing karts, you're like, fuck, that guy was lights out fast.
It's going to be supercars.
Anyway.
It's going to be the
is.
guys at the top.
It sort of is, because that's when it became the most, full on. I mean, you growing up, going through times, it was great race. Great people that you did race against, but when it was serious, it was serious in that period. I mean, actually, if I go back to karting, there was a rivalry. Late Ashley Stitchbury, actually, I don't know if you know that name, but Ash actually spent a bit of time in Australia as well and did some stuff. In our karting days, we were just terrible. We used to put each other on each other's heads all the time because we were just. And these are club days.
Yeah,
these are literally club days.
Literally sheep stations. On the table.
We didn't even get chocolate fish back then, and we used to put each other on the head all the time because we were so competitive. And he was a brilliant race car driver. But in the supercar stuff, mate, seriously, Skaife was so incredibly tough. I mean, Russell and I had some ding-dongs. I mean, my first full-time season, 97, he and I, we were at, like, bashing heads, like, big time. It was full on. LP used to just get inside your head. I mean, he was...
Really?
Back in the day, man. He was so good at it.
Just a wily old fox.
Completely. So clever.
With some of the things he said or the way
the
he
way he
used
to the way he used to deal with it. I mean, I remember one race at Malala. He just ruined me big time. He held me up for the entire race because he beat me off the line at Malala, and it just and he was just so good at being able to get inside your skin as well. So. Those guys.
I didn't expect that from LP. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, Lowndesy just annoys everybody. He's so goddamn good all through there. But I was again lucky. It's just so lucky to have raced through that period of time.
Yeah, what an era of drivers. The list of drivers.
Mega. Our racetrack. I think I had success at most of them in Australia. I used to love the Gold Coast. The Indy circuit, the Gold Coast would probably be after Bathurst was my favourite racetrack.
The original, the long
the original
version?
one. Yeah, it was fantastic. I got to go to Le Mans once.
Wow!
So I raced in Le Mans in 1996 in a Porsche, and that place, like the aura of it was just just terrifying. Like it was like I went there and we did pre-qualifying. Had to pre-qualify. And we scraped in, I think I qualified the car on the last lap of the day. I think it was like that. It was all day, and we got it in on the last day. And then, went back there for the race a few weeks later or whatever, and it was just so daunting, so daunting, such a daunting place. And I finished the race. We actually finished second in our class at Le Mans in a GT2 Porsche, and just expected that, I've done it once now. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Never went back. Went back. Shit. And it was sort of a place that, it was like it just holds so much esteem as far as an event and a racetrack. Yeah, so I was privileged enough to actually race there once.
Yeah.
What was said between you and Marcus at Bathurst 2005, Dylan Gray?
Just read our lips, man. It's pretty easy.
Can you remember what you say?
It's just absolute nothing. It's just screaming,
Yeah.
It's just every second word's, fuck and fucking is like, you're a dick and fucking whatever. I don't know. It was like, no, I don't remember. It was just rubbish. Absolute
just
rubbish.
Screaming match.
Yeah.
Flynn Johnson's thrown in here. Is it true that you missed a shift during the lap of the gods? And if so, where in the lap was it?
Yeah.
Downshift, didn't you say it?
No, upshift.
Upshift, was it?
Out of the dipper.
It's
when men were men. We're H patterns.
Remember I gave
Still
Murph shit in
driving one now,
Adelaide?
mate. Come on.
Boom.
Oh, he's going to leave you hanging there.
Yeah, don't do that.
You're just missing a couple of cogs, aren't you?
I actually,
Yeah.
we mentioned this in Adelaide though, because I do have GoPro vision of Elliot wrong slotting a downshift in front of you because you actually
He
said
come
to
in
him,
and told me.
Yeah, you called him out in Adelaide.
He
And I
goes,
said-
couldn't find the gear there.
Oh, yeah. No, I wasn't. No, I was just standing on the sideline listening.
And you heard him.
Yeah.
I didn't put that in
I
our
just
YouTube
jumped out of
video.
NASCAR.
Yeah.
I was
here we go.
waiting for him.
I'm saving that for a social clip for
there you
Elliot
go.
getting roasted
Don't do
there.
that.
But so you did
I might
miss.
get charged for a
Yeah.
gear.
The lap of gods.
Yeah.
Lap of the gods had a 10th in it.
Yeah, 2.
2 tenths he lost.
Came out of the dipper. And we flat shift because we flat shifted, right?
Yeah.
No shift cut. So I used to just dip the clutch. And so I was second gear out of the dipper and gave it some and then went across, but didn't go across and went into first.
Went to first too.
Yeah.
That'd been more than 2 tenths, wouldn't it?
Well, because it's such a short run, it ended up. I mean, I was pretty quick to but I had to clutch it to release the load. And if you listen to the video, you can hear in a gap. I think just in a gap when Neil just takes a breath, you can just hear it.
At about 9,000 RPM.
9.2. Yeah.
9.2, is that what it pulled?
Yeah.
Far out.
And
9.2.
So they'd have to pull that engine out that night?
No. It was they changed the valve springs. And off
That
she
was
went.
it. And you raced with that engine. I always thought it was a qualifying engine.
No,
I thought back
it did
then
not.
you had a
If you
special engine.
ask Skaife about it, it was a
Yeah, maybe that's where I
it was a
heard that.
special hot rod engine, but no, it did the 1,000 k's the next day.
So it turned to 9.2 and then lasted.
Yeah, it was mint. So yeah,
That's insane.
And it was one of those moments, where it's like, no, you think you've idiot, and that's why I slightly locked up at the elbow because I just was
trying to make it back.
Lost my rhythm and was trying to make a little
back.
bit back. Yeah, but it's such a short run. So yeah, but Eric Pender, he looked at it all, and it's like 2 tenths.
Isn't that wild? Isn't that crazy? The lap of the gods. I think.
And so then and then
yeah, they call it lap of the gods. Couple of mistakes here. Well, it sounds like we've got a lock up at the elbow. I've got a shift.
But and obviously back then they mustn't have been how they ISO record the whole thing. It must have flipped because I've never seen an in-car.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it. That's why I knew about it. Because that's probably how
I've
this
never
person
have.
knew about it too. Because I said to you at Adelaide, remember the Motorsport Festival, I said, when you gave him shit, I was like, hang on, I can give you shit too, because I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I've never seen an in-car
I'm
of it
gonna
missing.
look for it. I'm going to find it.
But you can just hear it on the shot as it changes the shot to look back towards the dipper as you exit, and you can just hear the thing scream.
The way you hustled those cars, I can watch those onboards.
Yeah, watch it all day long.
Like, I mean, to be honest, the touring cars still today, they are working
The philosophy's still the same.
Definitely the theatre with the H pattern, though, I
Theatre.
think.
Yeah.
Good word.
It was nice to watch.
And they were grouse. I mean, those Hollinger 6-speed boxes, man, they were just
tough as anything by the sounds of it as well. Yeah, just dipping the
That's
clutch
what
in.
we've got now in the Trans Am. It's literally just two less.
Smaller,
but they've
smaller
got
one.
the Hollinger,
Yeah.
And it does. You jump in it now and you're
why
like,
the hell we went to transaxles and just cost
shit.
It's ridiculous.
Cost the world so
Who
much
made that
money.
idea? Do you know?
Yeah.
Oh, who?
It was Skaife.
Why'd they do that? What was the philosophy there?
That was a Skaife idea. How does he get to?
Who the fuck knows? But it was just the worst
So
idea.
a driver gets to design what
it was the
gearbox
worst.
cars
It's
do.
just no one wanted it. I remember talking to people because we were running. And Tasman was operating at the time,
Right.
or about to sort of finish. But yeah, transaxles. Like it suits more manufacturers to have a transaxle in it. What a debacle that was. What a debacle. Cost the sport millions of dollars.
There we go. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Any other questions?
One
from our
last
Patreon
one.
members?
Richard White drove his NASCAR at the Adelaide Motorsport
You
Festival.
crashed
Actually,
it too for him. Good on you.
Fuck, we didn't need to talk about that
Oh,
again.
sorry.
He's just asked.
Do you think you're ever gonna stop talking about that?
No, fucking hell. That was all the comments when I came over here to race on the weekend was make sure I clip the steering wheel on properly. But he just said that was the Lap of the Gods car the best car you've ever driven.
That's a hard question, because you did something in it
Yeah.
Yeah.
that did what it did, and you're like, well, yeah, does it get any better than that? But
Was that a lap you just felt?
it was amazing. The car was incredible, but
You must have gone to a different place though for that lap yourself.
Well, it was one of those weekends, right? So I mean, it's just 12 months earlier. I'd spent 5 minutes in a fucking Portaloo. So 12 months later, we turn up, and out the gate, it's not because all of a sudden you go, right, we have to make this one. We have to
exactly
get payback. So let's try harder.
Yeah.
We turned up, and the car was just amazing, right? I mean, it was incredible to drive, and literally the only change we made the entire weekend was one spring change, which we put back from when it rolled out the truck. Yeah, so we tried a slightly stiffer spring on a full tank.
Yep.
And I didn't like it, so we put it back. That's the only thing we did all weekend to that car. So, and then you go out and do that. But I just knew on the shootout is a special part of the Bathurst weekend. I used to religiously on Saturday afternoons, before I ever got to go there, it was just absolutely transfixed with the television watching the shootout, right? It was the best thing. So I always thought about that when I got there. To be a part of the shootout was such a special thing.
Yeah.
Have you done one?
Yeah, I've done a few shootouts. Yep.
And you are alone on that hallowed piece of tarmac.
I know. You're sitting at the end of pit lane and you're waiting for your turn, and you know you're the only person.
And you're shaking. And
it's the only time of the year you are the only person that gets gets the track.
So it's special, right? And so, I always was like, want to be in the shootout. And I didn't get to do, we were in the top 10 a few times and I didn't get to do the lap. But every time you get the chance to do that, you make the goddamn most of it, right? And, we qualified quickly. It was one of the most amazing qualifying sessions on the Friday because it actually had a shower halfway through, shower rain. And I was top of the sheets at that time in like an 8-1 or something. And then it rained and I got out of the car, took my helmet off. I was like, that's the end of that. Yeah, we're provisional pole. And then people started to go out again and the weather came right. And I had to get back in the car. And because it was like, this could evolve. This is not finished yet. And sure enough, it didn't. And so Bowie and Skaife, they did seven nines, first time into the sevens. And I did as I came across the line, the checkered flag, I did a 7-9. So 3 of us were on 7 9s. On Friday afternoon at Bathurst for qualifying. Wow. It was amazing, incredible feeling.
And he dragged a second out the next day.
And then so the next day it was just like, well, what are we going to do here? Well, there's no point in leaving anything on the table. And it just was like, brake later, get on the gas earlier. Yeah. And that was it.
Stuck.
And that's where it is. And trust it. The car was pretty amazing, but, never expected anything like that. I've never run, plus or minus on the dash, gain or loss, because I
chase it too much,
focus on it too much. So I never ran it. So I never knew. We had it because of the PI dash. Yeah. You could get it, but I never used to run it. So you just went in. And what's the point? I mean, the idea is to go as fast as you can, right?
Yeah, you're not going to change anything, but give you a number.
Yeah. And if I'd seen a number come in, if I'd seen a number pop up, with the
predictive says a 6, you're like, you then throw it off down the road.
Exactly right.
Or break early in the last corner, or
something
try
stupid.
And save the lap.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Yeah. So then the moment you cross the line, you actually get the elation of not even knowing just how special that lap. You see the time and go, holy shit.
the little red LEDs on those PI dashes. Yeah. It doesn't. I don't think it came up with the full number. So it was just like. It was like something, right? Point or whatever, how it used to be. And so split second, fucking look down. Because I thought I'd blown it because I'd missed the gear.
Yeah, right.
So you come out and then you're like, fuck, idiot. Right, just focus. Finish the lap and double take on the little dash. And then the radio just goes, shit going on everywhere. So you're just like, what the hell? What's going on?
Fuck. Well, that's about as good a moment as we can end this on.
Yeah, no.
Honestly, thank you for your time, because you don't do many pods at all, really. And
is this a podcast?
Yeah. this is chewing shit.
They said it's because we're here in New Zealand at the Pod Lab, and they said, how did you manage to get Greg to come in and do the show?
No, they actually did.
I said we've got great sponsors that are paying heaps of money.
Yeah.
I've done.
I was going to get the invoice.
You gave me a pals.
Yeah,
but it has been unreal to have a drink with you and chat motorsport. I think it's very clear your passion for it, and why you're still talking about it today and involved in the sport as well. I love that you're helping out Woody, and I hope that some young kids listen and heard some little snippets in there that might help them make the right decision in the future.
Don't have any regrets in it. When you get a chance. I mean, what I tell as many kids that ask, they ask about what's the tip, what's the best tip? Is go every single opportunity. Any opportunity, think it's possibly the last one you get.
Yep.
Because it might be. So don't then take the opportunity, do it 80%, and then on the backside of it go, geez, I wish I'd done something better or prepared better or done something more, because it might be the last one you get.
Yeah. Thanks, Murph. It's been surreal to do it with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, boys.
Really
Thanks
great.
for coming over, brother.
No, it's good.
Quick day
Where
trip.
are we going tonight? You taking us out or what?
Quick day trip.